What's up, everybody? I love that he kept counting. This is amazing. All right, we're on the road today, everybody. God bless Eric. We are coming to you live from Texas, everybody. I hope you guys are well. I've got Drew, per usual. We've got Eric behind the camera being bamboozled by the internet or something. But we are live. We are ready to rock and roll. Today is going to be a weird day. There is so much going on. So Candace Owens is vindicated over her claims that Charlie Kirk planned to split with Israel. That's actually now been backed up by Turning Point themselves. We'll have some clips for you on that. It's wild, man. Living in a post-truth world is truly bizarre, and no longer being able to control the narrative. I think some of this is people no longer know what to believe. Some of it is that you really have been lied to all the time. Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Like, it just is what it appears to be. But on any specific issue, getting to a consensus is going to be difficult. All right, we'll talk more about that. Stephen Miller goes ham over attacks against ICE and the need for troops in both Chicago and Portland. There was a very interesting exchange that he has with a reporter about whether they're targeting brown people, whether it's even warranted to be in these cities or not. We're going to talk about it. I got some real feelings on that one. New economic data shows we are hemorrhaging jobs right now. We don't have the Bureau of Labor Statistics official data yet because the government is still shut down, which PS, the government is still shut down. So that's going to get weird as well with all the debates about who's going to get paid, who's not going to get paid. But I'm eager to talk about what's going on with Stephen Miller's take. And then what we can take from the jobs report. That is, I think the economy is in a pretty unstable position right now. So yeah, buckle up, everybody. I think that it gets worse from here. New report comes out suggesting that Xi Jinping may be losing power in China. I think that would be a very good thing, not just in the America v. China, but I want to see China thrive. I want to see every country thrive. And we can talk about why I think Xi Jinping is ended up being more dangerous for China than helpful. If you go back a couple, I can't remember if Deng Xiaoping was directly before Xi Jinping or not, but Deng Xiaoping, I think, was far better for China, can be far more credited for the incredible rise in China. So this could be good news for China. So we'll talk about that. Taylor Swift is being accused of going conservative. And Drew, can we actually believe that the song Wood is about Travis Kelce's particular bits?
You put me on the spot right now because I haven't even
listened come on. Drew's the music guy in the house. What's happening right now?
We're going to do a live reaction.
You guys should all be disappointed. I think you're going to have to light Drew up on that one. All right. And to keep it light, AI has attempted murder. I wish that was untrue. And the funny thing is that came out right like the day before we launched our deep dive. So I'd already recorded it before that came out. But you want to talk about prescient, boys and girls. This one is wild. And somewhere James Cameron is screaming into the void that he did indeed try to warn us. But we wouldn't listen. All right, Drew, it's time for us all to listen. We are here. We are live. We are ready to go.
Shout out to all the Texanites in the building. We've been doing barbecue. We've been doing Texas things. I need to get a cowboy hat and a belt buckle before I wrap this trip up. I'm going to be honest. So as we were doing some research and things, we were kind of diving into everything that has to do with Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. And it really comes down to here Candace Owens again making outrageous claims.
Outlandish.
This is just another outrageous thing. She's going to get sued in 3 weeks and we're going to sweep it under the rug. I completely written it off. And then she goes live, I want to say yesterday, and that's when the receipts start rolling in. We get confirmations from Turning Point USA. And it seems, I don't want to say instantly, but it seems that the conversation is now slowly starting to shift a bit. And people are now
on
open
Candace.
On Candace's claim specifically to Charlie Kirk. Like, now it's a bit more, maybe it is more credible than we thought. Or, wait a second, how many donors did he lose? How much money was on the table that he denied? Right. And now these other kind of conspiracy theories are coming to light. What was your first reaction hearing about it? And then as you were going through the research through Candace?
Honestly, my first reaction is that we are living in the world that James Burnham warned us about, that when you have the volume and velocity of information, that there's going to be warfare at the level of what can anybody believe. And so the key thing that I take away, because I think it's going to have the biggest impact on us as a planet, is that when you have manufactured consent, meaning people really can control the narrative, there's only so many ways to convey something to the general public. And so editors of newspapers, they get together, politicians get together, they essentially collude, and they tell us this is the world.
Yeah, this is what happened. This is the story. We're sticking to it.
So you certainly were not making contact with the truth, but everybody had a limited set of places that they could go to find this information. And it allowed us to move forward reasonably well, certainly here in the West. And that felt amazing. So you have freedom of speech. People can challenge the orthodox narrative if they want, but they always end up looking like kooks. And you're basically able to keep a narrative moving forward. And something like the assassination of JFK sort of bubbles in the background all the time of people saying that it's a conspiracy theory, but it's very hard for people to get all of the information out in any sort of credible way. They lacked the alternative media sphere that we have now. And so because of that, the average person just marches forward with their day, feels like they understand everything. Yeah. There's like these crazy guys off to the side and they say some stuff every now and then. But the reality is I understand what the world is. I understand how it works. When I act in accordance with the narratives, I'm able to get along with my life. That's all going away. That's all gone away. And given that that's gone away, I don't think we yet understand the ramifications of a world that simply cannot come to a consensus. Now, this is where I have to plant the flag and say truth is not easy to discern, and that truth is probably the wrong thing to pursue, because we are not built from humans don't have the sensors to accurately predict what is true. And so we're always looking at approximations. We're always looking at shortcuts, cognitive shortcuts, I should say. We're always falling prey to like cognitive illusions. So people are familiar with optical illusions, but I think that there are cognitive illusions. And I think for the most part, when you look at life, because our physical body makes it impossible to perceive truth, right? My favorite stat to remind people of, you only see 0.0035% of the available electromagnetic spectrum, which means you see the world's most tiny fraction of what's actually there. Okay, so you're already abstracted. Once you get into human behaviors and all of that, it's going to be 98% interpretation and 2% facts. So it's like, this thing happened, but what does it mean that that thing happened? So I'll give you an example to bring it back to Charlie Kirk. So in fact, show the tweets that Charlie Kirk sent. First of all, please keep in mind, these tweets are abstracted. So they are clipped out. They are put in, I won't say random order, but there's obviously huge chunks that are missing. And so you're only seeing the part that whoever amalgamated these, which I believe it was actually not him, but it was the president of Turning Point USA. We'll pull him up in a minute. That's the wrong link. That's Josh Hammer. That's more conspiracy theory. So we're looking for the one right above that, the confirmation from Andrew. Yeah. Sorry, Andrew is the guy, but we need to go to the one that actually shows the screenshots. This is the one with him talking. Yeah, so we want the screenshots. So while you pull that up, so what you're going to see are tweets that are abstracted, clipped out. And one of the things that he says is, this is leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel camp or something like that. You'll see the exact words in a minute. Now, did he mean that as a final declaration? Did he mean that as I'm blowing off steam and it's like, oh, this is all that I'm left with? And that he would have calmed down, in the coming days. So it's like, that's where we're going to get into interpretation. And also, if any of you guys have ever sent a text to a friend or to your wife or significant other, and they totally misread your tone, you're like, whoa, that's not at all how I meant that. And you read the same exact thing, but with a different tone. So that's the layer of interpretation. And so once you understand that humans basically live in that layer of interpretation, you put that together with the fact that there is almost never a just true sequence of facts that we can say that's what happened. It's already far too complicated. We're already parsing things through shortcuts. And so you put interpretation, we can't perceive the truth even if we wanted to. And by the way, we just tend to shortcut everything. But now you're getting every possible different interpretation of every possible different variable coming at you from every direction. And
it's like stacking almost, like it's just
creating these rogue waves of just complete incoherence. And the big question mark is, behind the scenes, does that make it easier to control us or harder to control us? That's what we're going to find out. And so this will be in many ways a litmus test, less about what did Charlie Kirk really say and more about what are the second and third order consequences of not being able to control narratives. Does it make the world better or worse? Like, does this spiral out of control and we find that everything that Candace has been saying is really true, and we name names and Israel killed Charlie, and we begin to rip the whole house of cards down? Or does it just become a cacophony of so much noise, nobody has credibility, people only listen to people on their team, and everybody shorthands the things that they choose to believe. They solidify that in a narrative that allows them to move forward, but everybody is now doing that. So instead of having like 2 or 3 sort of official flavors of the official narrative, we've got thousands of flavors, and there is no quote unquote official narrative. And then what is that world like functionally?
Yeah. And that breakdown in trust, and what are those second order consequences of that as well. All right, let's kind of start at the beginning. This is Candace Owens talking about the text that talked about the pro-Israel donors, and then we'll start going down the rabbit hole. I see a couple people.
We need to break down first exactly what this is. If anybody is like I was not too long ago, they have no idea what's happening here.
Yep, exactly. There's a couple people like that. So we're starting at the very beginning, and we'll break it down. So right here is where Candace Owens reveals personal text from Charlie that shows his intention to split with Israel, simply based on donors, simply based on how this shift in the perception, I guess, of Israel is changing.
Yeah, show the clip, and then I'll walk people through like the beats.
Charlie, and I never said he was going to, decided one day to become Catholic, it would have financial implications. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor.
Okay, so go back. We're going to read the text message. Okay, so here's the whole text chain. Just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Then the person replies to him, ugh. And then Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. He then continues, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And then the other person responds, please don't invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Okay, so obviously a very brief excerpt. She had gone to her audience and had said, hey, I have these texts. She originally did not show them. And actually, she may have shown them straight away, but nobody believed that they were real. And you had people all over the internet going, if she can prove that those are real texts, I'll give her every dollar I've made from every dollar the Jews have ever paid me. I mean, it was like really wild stuff like that. And then lo and behold, let's play the next clip. The partner of Charlie Kirk comes on and says, yeah, that actually is real.
So this is Andrew Gov't, the current president of Turning Point USA, and I think he's been taking over the show. Like, he's been doing the last couple episodes. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a permanent move, but this is him authenticating the text from Candace Owens.
To address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. To address some of
there are other clips that I've seen on him talking about this, and when he says that he's excited that these have gotten out there, he said, look, we have been accused of not trying to find out what actually happened to Charlie. And we want that more than anybody else. But people thought from our public behavior that wasn't true. But in reality, we've been cooperating with the investigation and we didn't want to spoil anything. And so we're trying to just make sure that all of the everything that can go forward with the formal investigation can, and we're not interfering with that. But now that it's out and I'm not the one that put it out, great. Let's
talk about it.
Yeah, we can say, listen, this was on our radar. We made it known to the investigation immediately as soon as it happened. And so now let's see what happens. So that obviously, to your point earlier, brought a lot of credibility to Candace because people were dragging her on Twitter saying that she's just completely lost the plot from what she's doing with the Brigitte Macron stuff to this. She just like never found a conspiracy that she wouldn't endorse. And so for her to be the one that clearly in the world, people are like, oh, you've got something hot, you want to get it out. People are going to Candace. Yeah. Now, I won't lie. She's starting to feel like Alex Jones feels to me. They do get like a lot of early stuff from people. People really do go, okay, when I've got that thing that's like too hot to handle, nobody's going to believe it, I'm going to go to one of those two people. But there is something, it does something to your reputation when you're always early on breaking conspiracy theories. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. If she gets vindicated on the Macron stuff, it's game over. She'll be goated. And it is interesting. Listen, I would never do this because I think people know my foundational belief is don't overtrust yourself. Like the things that you could be blind to are just far too many. Candace herself could be being manipulated by somebody deep behind the scenes. It's like, get it to Candace. So I would just be uber paranoid about that kind of thing. But anyway, it's fascinating as somebody commenting on all this stuff to watch like how far out there she's putting herself. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. She is the commentary version of Michael Saylor. And it's like, if her bets all pay off, she is going to have all the credibility in the known universe. However, this is a very high risk strategy. Okay, so that happens.
She's all in. She's all
in. She is testicles deep. Like that is for sure. Maybe some of those are even being placed inside. Like this is wild stuff. So this lent a lot of credibility for him to come out and say, okay, that's real. I don't know how she got it. I think he said those words, but don't hold me to that. But anyway, acknowledges that those were screen grabs that he took, that he put together. This is real. So Charlie really did say that. And I would say that is pretty bombshelly. For somebody like me that's always been on the outside of the Jews, and I've just always found this fascination weird, I will be very curious to see how this plays out because it is true that humans in general, that governments specifically, they will for sure manipulate anybody in any way that they can. I don't think that's in any way, shape, or form unique to Israel, but Israel is in such a precarious PR position. If it ends up coming out that this is what they did, oh my God. Like this would be freakish.
Even just to save face, you have to like react big to it. But the plot thickens even still. So as we're connecting those threads, Candace Owens has text that there was some dissent in Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA camp. The president came and confirmed that. Here is a video of her expressly saying that Charlie was fearing for his life days, weeks before he was actually murdered.
3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication from Charlie. One who is a Turning Point USA donor, and I would say very much one of the white knights in this. The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, I think they're going to kill me, okay? He did not express that to me, so I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people, and I am saying this because I hope that these people, who I think are good, will be inspired to come forward with that. Again,
okay, so pause. So what she's intimating here is that I have been given even more information than I can tell you, that I have specifics. There are 3 people that have confirmed these specifics. It's my understanding, she said, one of them did so in writing. And I am saying, I'm not going to betray that. They told me off the record, and as a good, we need a new word for what?
You can't call it journalism.
That doesn't feel good. But it is something. It's a new era. It's a new era of something. So people are bringing her, we just lost the image, Eric. people are bringing her information. She really is able to show people behind the scenes stuff that's turning out some of it to be valid. And so what I want to see is basically like, will the people actually come out? Because she's trying to use the like, listen, I'm not going to rat you out. So if you want to stay invisible, go for it. But you know who you are. I know who you are. I want you to do the right thing. I think you're a good person, right? So she's trying to pressure them to come out and say the stuff, which obviously would be amazing. But somebody really did kill Charlie. So I can understand why people would be tense. If they think they know who did it and they think it's a government, then they're really going to be slow to be like, yeah, let me say more things. But I think we pulled the clip. It may be this clip. Let's let this play out, because Candace does have a clip where she's like, I created a dead hand trigger.
Oh, yeah, that's something.
Which is pretty wild. So presumably, Candace believes she knows who these people are. And she is intimating, at least how I read it, that those same people have been making her life a hell. But nobody's naming names yet. So, all right, let's play it.
But I went ahead this week and sent around a life insurance policy of sorts, a package rather, to people that I trust, a package filled with text messages, emails, private communications, videos, and private legal documents. So if anything happens to me, you guys will know exactly who it is that has been making my life a living hell over the past couple of years. People that are trying to bankrupt me, trying to bankrupt me and my family, that are threatening us, to sue us. Everything that Kanye said was so real. Okay, I'm now at that point where you look back and you go, man, Kanye was right. He was really saying something about what it takes to leave.
If this all comes back and we're like, yo, Kanye was early, bro. He was early.
Kanye did it again.
That would
Kanye's
be
undefeated, yo.
the wildest thing ever.
And he would be intolerable. We wouldn't be able to tell him anything.
Will
ever.
be, as in future? In the future? Whoo!
You just gonna have the shade glasses on. He ain't gonna bring them back.
But are we on that timeline? Dude, that will be the most insane thing ever. Okay, anyway, this is all hearsay right now, but let her keep going. She's got a dead hand switch.
Or custody of your own soul. Just leave me alone. Let me say what I believe and you say what you believe. Fight fair. Why do you always have to make this threat to bankrupt people?
Yeah.
And I want you to know that those people...
She has a point there. It's like the process is the punishment. That is an amazing quote. The process is the punishment. Like, there are people that have enough money that they can, whatever, it's cost a couple million to go in and fight this for the next 2 or 3 years. Whatever, doesn't matter.
And just bankrupt the other person.
Yeah, they'll just literally make your life a nightmare. First of all, it's extremely stressful. And then on top of that, it's very expensive. And if you're in a position where you're vulnerable, then it's like financially vulnerable, then you're just like, at some point, do I cut bait and run? Because would I rather the whole world think that I'm wrong and me just go do another career and not be millions of dollars in debt? Or do I fight this all the way knowing that I could still lose either legally or in the court of public opinion and now be the millions of dollars in debt and having lost? It's wild. And so people coming after someone like her, presumably, listen, we don't know who it is. So this could all be made up in her head, but that certainly is a real strategy. Whether that's being done to Candace or not, it is a real strategy. And many a very wealthy person, organization, government have run that kind of strategy before. So we certainly know that's a legitimate thing that can happen. Now, whether it's happening to Candace, I don't know. But again, we're back to these sort of vague claims. But I think it's going to be all eyes on this story for a while. But let her keep going.
Thing happens to me, they have my explicit permission to release it all, detonate it all, expose all of these people in politics and in the movement who behave like this behind the scenes. It's necessary. And I highly recommend every single person that is out there, that has a platform and is going through things and is scared, do the same. Send everything around to about 8 people that you trust. And I mean, I've ranged it. I sent it to journalists, text
Someone
messages,
somewhere is like 8 people. I got to take out 8 people.
ranging
Okay,
from
got
Alex
it.
Blumenthal to Andrew Tate. They won't know where it's coming from.
This is going to be wild, man. This already is wild. Okay, you are at the beginning of something very big. And a year from now, people can play this clip. I'm telling you that when you have the amount of information getting out into the world that we have now, something is going to break. I don't know precisely what that's going to be, but things are going to get wild. Humans need a shared narrative in order to march forward together in lockstep. In fact, I'm writing right now a deep dive on the collapse of America, and it's really weird. I wanted to sort of eject out of it. Obviously, in my typical fashion, I'm trying to show people a way forward. Like, this is how we navigate this well.
This is how we get out of it.
But the more I tried to say, okay, wait, it's really not this bad. Like, it's not happening. It really does become undeniable. I'll let people judge for themselves. It'll be out in a week. But it is the need for a shared narrative is part of how we move forward well. And if we don't get a shared narrative, we will not be able to move forward well. And the bad news is I do in the piece state very explicitly what I think the shared narrative for America needs to be. I even use the word we need to indoctrinate our children, and I'll let people decide for themselves whether they think what I'm suggesting we all collectively decide we're going to indoctrinate kids with is good or bad. But I don't see another way. Like we really do. It can't be forced from the top down. It's got to rise up from the bottom up. And admittedly, when I was writing the things that I was writing, it's like I end the paragraph going, look, I know how cheesy that sounds, but it's like, if we don't do that, we're going to be in trouble. And I have almost no faith that as a collective, we'll be able to march forward with a shared narrative. I think shared narratives are born out of pain. And I think a country has to go through, I mean, this is China's rise. China first had to go through a century of humiliation, their words. And with that, they were able to galvanize people with a shared narrative. And now that they have a shared narrative and things are going well, it's like you can't stop them. So we're wildly prosperous, but because we're declining, even though we're still ahead of basically everybody on planet Earth, that decline feels some kind of way. And we absolutely do not have a shared narrative. And we have, this is going to be a weird word. We have, quote unquote, allowed people to bring all these fracturing negative narratives, which you have to, because freedom of speech, for me, I'm prepared to live in whatever world freedom of speech brings me. And if it brings me this, where we're dealing with all this, so be it. I have a very strong position on that if people want to debate it. But we're going to live in that world. But because we have allowed for all these competing narratives about what America is, what it means to be an American, where we're headed, where we've been, we can't move forward unified. And there's a phenomenal Thomas Sowell quote. I'm going to paraphrase it. But the quote is, there has never been a claim made with so much conviction that lacked all evidence more than the claim that diversity is our strength. And he's like, diversity is not our strength. Diversity is the thing we have to overcome in order to move forward together unified. Unity is our strength. So the question is, when you celebrate diversity to high heaven, how do you move forward together with something cohesive? And you have to.
I have to kind of take up for chat, because I see a couple, when we first got into this rabbit hole, some people are like, you got to love broken clocks. You know, they're right 2 times a day. So with the internet, with the algorithm that will reinforce any feeling you have right now, there is definitely rabbit holes on TikTok. We have the milk video that we joked about, the one that you pulled up there, where the guy's doing a milk review about making half and half, and secretly he's putting. We
should show that.
It was
First
so
of all,
good.
It's just genius.
Yeah, it was so good. But it's one of those things where we have the ability to reinforce negative thinking and sometimes even false thinking. There's lies that have been propagated for decades and we haven't had sources. But now that we are the ability to Google it and search it and things like that, now they're starting to break. But at the same time, I feel like we're also susceptible to anybody with a microphone saying something confidently. We're like, yeah, that does track. And yeah, we should. And then before we know it, to your point, there's all these different factions of thinking. There's a sect of Republicans who are like, yeah, Tyler Robinson, the furry guy, that's who did it. Case closed. And in that same party, there's, it was the Jews. We got to get together. We got to rally. We got to fight back. So we're already seeing the fraction of unity. is there a line there, or is this the free speech? We just have to go weave through all the noise.
So look, free speech is one of the ingredients in this cocktail. It's not the ingredient right now to focus on. I really, really, really want people to understand that there is a foundational thing that happened when you invented social media. When you invented social media, you made it possible for anybody to say what they believe. So before, people could theoretically say what they believed, but everybody, minus a few, they were shouting into the void. There's a really great meme that's like, you're on X and you're posting for the last 10 years and you never get any likes, and it shows somebody standing in front of a brick wall like 6 inches from the wall, like expressively saying something. And it's like, that was all of human history. And even within that, you had the 30 Years' War that happened because the printing press came along. Okay, so now like a few voices could start documenting their thing. You're now living in a world where millions of people can document their thoughts. And so what the question that I'm asking is, dear boys and girls that can hear my voice right now, what do we do? Okay? Don't be philosophical. What do we do in a world where you will not be able to ascertain the truth by aggregating a bunch of people who agree on a topic? Because everything will be so thinly sliced. You'll be able to find very compelling, very eloquent people that can make an argument for anything. And some of them will even be trolling, just trying to create chaos. So what do you do in that world? Now, I have an answer. The bad news is the vast majority of people either do not have the intellect or the time or the inclination to do it. But the only answer is you have to think for yourself from first principles. You have to track down as close to facts as you can get, which those will still be very difficult, but you have to get as close to facts as you can, and then build a cause and effect map that predicts the world you actually see. Okay? That's what you have to do. But now, how many people are actually going to do it? I'm going to bang on about it here. You come to this show because that's my entire worldview. All of my success is predicated on my ability to step into a space that I know nothing about and go, cool, I'm just going to think from first principles. There are only so many things that are true. But like, I had this maddening experience yesterday. I was at a YouTube event, and this guy came up to me. He's a young entrepreneur, and he wants to do something. And I said, listen, business is not mystical. Business is simply a sequence of things that you do. Once you understand business as a never-ending series of 15-minute increments of a thing you're doing based on what drives revenue, then you're actually going to understand business. And the irony is, you can put me in front of anybody with any business. I don't need context. Everybody always thinks I need context. I don't need context. Just tell me what you're trying to achieve, and I will walk you through what you need to do to achieve that. Why? Because of cause and effect. And so if you're just thinking up from first principles, it's like business really does become a series of if this, then that statements. The same is true of conspiracy theories, which is why if somebody's really determined, they can go through on even the deepest morass. This is one of the things that makes Mike Benz so interesting, is you can go through and you can start finding all the things that are facts. Boom, 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 boom. And you lay them out. Now, those are the stars in the sky. Longtime listeners are going to know what I'm talking about here. Those are the stars in the sky. Then you begin to draw constellations. Now, as long as you can remind yourself that those constellations aren't real, those are interpretation, but they help you steer in the dark. Cool. So you build out your best take on cause and effect, and this led to this, led to this, led to this, led to this, and therefore that predicts this outcome. And if you actually see that outcome in real life that your interpretation of the facts predict, then odds are that you're close to the truth. You're probably never going to find the absolute truth, but you're going to get very close. Now, that does not scale. Maybe you guys know people I don't, but in my life, that does not scale. Most people are not going to do that, but that's what you have to do. And so what does the world look like when what I know is going to happen, which is everybody's going to go, well, I trust that person. And so whatever they say, I'm just going to believe it. I'm not going to figure out issue by issue who I'm going to vote for or what I'm going to vote for on a local election where there's a bunch of tax initiatives and stuff like that. I'm just going to be like, who do Democrats vote for? I'm going to vote for all of them. Who do Republicans vote for? I'm going to vote for all of those. That's how we live. Heuristics, shortcuts. Yeah. It's going to create a wild world now that millions of people are pumping out rhetoric interpretations?
Well, everybody's daily life is going to get a bit more hectic and complicated now that the government shutdown has continued. I don't understand.
Wait, are we really done with that?
Yes.
I need to know what chat is talking about.
Yes.
These numbers are crazy. So you know that this issue is striking a nerve, and we haven't even really, because I've danced around it, because I'm not, now, I don't have a negative the Jews stance. So is that like not even coming up in chat? That seems impossible.
I think there's twofold. Half of it is the ballistics tell us that the existing storyline is false. Like, you can't hide a rifle in a backpack. If somebody shoots you at a rifle with that distance, it's going to blow your neck up and not just be a singular hole. Everybody's looking at the T-shirt video and stuff like that.
People don't beat the T-shirt thing to death. I'm going to lose my mind. He's hit by something before the mark on his neck shows up.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of, the official narrative isn't right.
Yep.
However, I think running into Candace's Owens' arm as a single source of truth is where we're getting a lot of dissension, because some people are like...
Here's an interesting point about that. So what I would encourage people to remember is, okay, you're looking for data points so you can build a cause and effect narrative, is probably the right word, but you're really trying to track cause and effect. So Candace is a person that is offering you an interpretation of those stars that you see in the sky. Cool, great, very helpful, thank you. I'll take all the people, hey, what does Alex Jones say? Like, I'll take that as well. But you want to get a bunch of different sources that historically disagree with each other, and then you're looking for the areas of overlap, right? So you're now going to see, I think, a lot less people saying that the texts were doctored. Now, some might still say that, but you'll probably start seeing a lot of overlap of people who traditionally disagree saying, yes, okay, the texts are real. Cool. Now that's a star you have in your own sky. You're not having to trust anybody else. You're saying, cool, I got it. So Candace is being coy, which is good, because she's not saying like, I know this is what it is. And so I think a lot of the narratives that people think Candace is saying are a bit like the movie Psycho. By the way, there is an incredible series on Netflix right now called Monster, the Ed Gein story, which is about the guy that Psycho was made about. Now, when the movie Psycho came out in the 60s, I believe, people freaked out. They were vomiting. There was women going into labor because they were so freaked out by the movie.
Get scared into labor. That's wild.
Wild.
That's crazy.
And in the show Monster, they edit the scene the way that people thought they were seeing it. But the reality is, if you watch Psycho, you never see the knife touch her skin ever.
Wow.
And yet in the show, they show it like fucking stabbing into her, and it was like, that's what people thought they were seeing. So you need to be very careful, because right now she's implying heavily that, my interpretation is she's implying very heavily that Charlie Kirk was killed because of his change of heart about Israel. That, I think, is very reasonable to say that that's what she's implying. She's not come out and just stated it, but she's implying that. So she's keeping her foot off the gas, which I think is very wise. She doesn't know exactly what's going on right now. As all of us try to piece together cause and effect, it's like, okay, cool, thank you for that interpretation. I'll run that against, because every hypothesis, think of what Candace is saying as a hypothesis. Every hypothesis makes a prediction. And so then it's like, okay, what does it predict? And can we then go verify those facts? So that makes a prediction that Tyler Robinson did not actually pull the trigger, possible, or that makes a prediction that Tyler Robinson was paid to pull the trigger. And so it's like, we can start investigating those different things and seeing like, where did the threads begin to fall apart? For instance, if anybody else has information where Charlie says, listen, I was just blowing off steam, okay, that would be something that would invalidate it. So you want to know what could you discover that would invalidate the Israeli hypothesis. And it's like, okay, if we have an invalidation state, like we know what would need to be true for us to say it couldn't be Israel, or it's far less likely to be Israel, then go explore that. When you only have things that can reinforce it, like, oh, now we really know, now for sure isn't, then you get into the delusion. So what is the fail state so that you can try to disprove it? And then, I mean, this is all scientific method stuff. So you start going down that path, you try to disprove it based on all the predictions that it makes. So I think, to really tie this back to what I was saying with Monster, I think Candace is saying far less than people think she's saying. and she's never showing the knife touch the blood or touch the skin. But what people are seeing is like the knife like fully like going in. And she, I think, is backing off on this one enough. Like, if you compare how she's talking about what happened to Charlie with how she talks about Brigitte, it's night and day.
Okay, but Andrew Bustamante, former CIA spy, friend of the show, we have him here all the time. I remember that one episode we did, the one before last, where he informed us, like, oh, yeah, the biggest spies in the world are the French. And we were like, wait, what? French people spy? Like, it's known in intelligence circles that they're the baddest of the gang and everybody hates them and these other things. So from the CIA dirty government secrets of it all, having somebody who's a little bit too loud about a policy you are heavily invested in, getting them killed seems like a Monday morning. It doesn't seem like crazy. I'm sure there was 100 Charlie Kirk equivalent style assassinations in the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, other places like that through the lifetime of the indoctrination of the CIA, FBI, all these things. So it's not covert action taken on people that I think is surprising to us, but it's the fact that, is this because of a foreign institution, and that's the additional layer?
This is the Jews' problem.
So if he was anti-China, you don't think it would have as much?
People wouldn't get weird about it. So to your point, literally a couple days ago, the head of the Russian propaganda machine, technically a newspaper, but the head of the Russian propaganda machine fell from his 7th-story window.
He just tripped. He tripped.
People
didn't have his shoes size,
Putin
guy.
tend to fall out of windows or eat poison. It's wild. So, but like people just move on from that. So again, this is one of those. There's a star in the sky. What is the constellation? One of the constellations is that all throughout history, and this is why I really want people to be cautious. All throughout history, when things break bad economically, people start killing Jews. It's wild. So this is one of those where we need somewhere to point our anger. We end up pointing them at the same people over and over and over. And yes, of course, I know the arguments that are like, well, if you're the person that everybody goes after, like, don't you need to at some point reflect on what you're doing? At the same time, wait, did we just justify going in and murdering people? So it's like, just like, I don't care how many people came into America illegally. I'm not for sending brown shirts around to start shooting immigrants to make sure that everybody's scared to come here. That's not good. And we being humanity, essentially do that to the Jews when things get really bad. It's wild. It's happened so many times. So that's not me saying that I know that Israel didn't do something bad. They may have done every bad thing they're being accused of. I'm just saying you also have to be careful of, holy bejesus, like people just have a tendency they need somebody to put their anger towards, and historically it's been placed on Jewish people.
And I think we're starting to notice that too. Ever since we had that populism, like, deep dive conversation on that live that one time, you were really like, yeah, it's scapegoat season. Like, if there's a bunch of groups of people that are mad, they need somebody to be mad at. And everybody is pointing at somebody, whether this person's pointing at the immigrant is pointing at the trans is pointing at Israel. Like, so everybody's like, we would be happy if this group did play by the rules, or we would be happy if this thing didn't happen. So I think there's a lots of that layer of extrapolation is definitely on top of it. And just because Candace Owens is a Z-Jews types of person, I think that's how it gets caught up in there. But honestly, this is an Israel problem. It's not necessarily a Jewish problem. But apparently we keep...
There you go. Yeah. That's one of the constellations. Okay, wait a second. This isn't about Jewish people. This is about a government.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm like, hold on. Like, the American government does all kinds of crazy outlandish shit on the world stage to get the world that we want. But you don't see... I'm not saying you never see American backlash. You most certainly do. And there are for sure times where, like, don't travel abroad. But you don't see the kind of persistent thing that you see with the Jews. So it's like, that's the one that I think we need to be really careful
of. So there was a couple chats about us saying we need a unifying message and we need to kind of figure out how to wrap it up. I'm shouting out Techno Shaman and Street Guru. So you need Techno Shaman said you need one superior, perfect example of how to conduct yourself in society. Is it possible to even have that, like a unifying story with a perfect teacher?
Who are we going to agree on? we're not going to agree on
And
if it's a religious leader, you're going to be like, they believe in the wrong God.
Yeah.
If it's God, politicians are never going to be it, because to get elected, you've got to really just be prepared to lie. Who would it be? It's not going to be a business guy. We are in a very negative on capitalism like thing right now. Plus, everybody is flawed. And so it's like, once you start realizing that Nelson Mandela was horrible to his wife, Martin Luther King Jr. was horrible to his wife, it's like, all these guys are standing on clay feet. Like, so, okay, you want the cheesiest part for my upcoming deep dive? I literally wrote the words, and I really believe this: we've got to rediscover virtue. And virtue is very easy to define: doing the morally excellent thing even when it hurts you. And we don't do that. So we certainly don't celebrate it. We don't teach it. Like, if we're going to indoctrinate people with something, let's indoctrinate them with that. That was part of my thing. Like, we need to indoctrinate kids with a growth mindset, first of all, a belief that they can get better over time by like really working hard. We need to get people excited about the pursuit of fulfillment. So fulfillment is working hard to gain a set of skills that allow you to make progress towards an honorable goal. But all of this stuff it's fallen out of favor. So it's, but we do. People need to value themselves and others for doing the morally excellent thing, which of course we're never going to agree on what that is. Yeah. But they need to do the morally excellent thing even when it hurts them.
Okay, I got to bring the tinfoil hat now, because I see Quinna Nugent and Christy Norman both talking about it's not Israel, it was somebody in 20 Pro USA. There's been a lot of speculation about like Erica.
That Turning Point took him out? Oh, yeah. Well, so here's the bad news about the stuff about Erica, is that she's Jewish. Yeah. That's the takeaway. There's like a whole expose about, they claim that she was raped. They're like, I love the way they say this, as if it's like, gotcha, bitch. It's like, she's 4 years older than him. Gotcha, bitch. It's like, what? Like, you do realize that does happen. Like, it may not be the most common thing, but it's not like a gotcha. Like, what on earth? And then, of course, there's like zoom-ins on the mom, and it's like, look at her nose. I am not making this up, by the way. It's like, she's obviously Jewish. So, look, it's entirely possible that her parents are Jewish. I have not gone deep enough on that. I have no idea. But it is already distressing to me that, for like purity's sake, that people think it's even like a conversation that Charlie Kirk couldn't possibly be married to a Jewish person. Yeah. Like, that would just be some like bad thing. It's like, whoa. That's the kind of stuff that freaks me out. It's like, is Erica a good person? And by the way, I think who somebody marries tells you a lot about that person. Either Charlie is the world's easiest person to bamboozle, and so he married somebody who was essentially, I mean, my interpretation of the way that some people are putting this forward is that, that she was basically a honeypot for Israel. And it's like, come on, man. So, like, this guy fell in love and married her. Are you saying that he's that easy to bamboozle?
Yellow Knight 9. Men are easy, yes.
Yeah, no, in fairness. In the short run, if somebody had sex with somebody, I would get it. But Charlie Kirk was a good-looking guy. He's very intelligent, very successful. I don't think he was going to have a hard time finding a woman. So, man, I would need some extraordinary evidence to think anything other than they fell in love. They got married, they had kids, and marriage is hard, so I cannot fathom that he's going to text his friends like, I'm moving away from the pro-Israel standpoint, but, like, wouldn't have whatever conversations he needed to have with his wife to be like, listen, these are our shared values regardless of your ancestry, which Jesus just should not matter. So I can't buy for a second that he doesn't have a backbone or whatever, and that she was just puppeteering him the whole time. It's wild. But you're gonna get stuff like that.
It's one of those things where, like, only time will tell. But unfortunately, with the JFK thing, even when they did the document release, we were getting dry cleaner receipts. Like, we didn't find the smoking gun in that JFK files dump. I think when everything is said with Charlie Kirk, I don't know if we're ever going to get the full story.
So this is my point. There is, I mean, somewhere a full story, but it's always going to be, there's people with competing narratives, there's competing agendas, there's things that went right, there's things that went wrong, some of it's just luck. Because remember, like, it's possible that they tried to get to him multiple times before. It's possible that there's 5 other people that different people have been trying to take out and they just haven't been successful. So you see the one that got all the way across the finish line. And then, hey, for all of my people that believe in the multiverse theory, that every time there's a decision, a new quantum universe is spun up. We just happen to be on the timeline where they actually got through and killed Charlie, and that there could be a near infinite number of timelines where they don't. And so, hey, we just happen to get on the one where all the things just somehow sort of lined up. So, yeah, I would be, again, very careful. Build your arguments, cause and effect. There's not going to be some like list of facts you will be able to pin down 100% that say this is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to keep uncovering it. We have people in the chat now talking about the ties that Erica has. Her parents worked at Raytheon in Israel. He built the Iron Dome. Her mom was a CEO of a company with ties to CIA in Israel. So it seems where there's a smoke, there's fire. But again, I don't know if we're just
really
painting the
ask
constellations.
Yourself, what's the fire?
Yeah,
the fire is that this is one possible interpretation of the things we're seeing coming out about the quote-unquote fire that could be his wife. That she's essentially Israel calling their shot with this kid who was up and coming, and are like, we got to put this beautiful woman in front of him. And she's going to play some long con, and she's going to nudge him in this pro-Israel direction, and she's going to use love and sex to make sure that he stays pro-Israel until the end of time. Dude, that is so wild. I cannot fathom it. That is like straight out of the Cold War. Russia is sending over all their spies. And listen, we send hot women to foreign countries to try to get people to fuck up. China sends them here. Russia sends them here. I'm sure Israel sends them here. 100%. But like some long con from years. I mean, how long have they been together?
I think
7, 8 years, something? Yeah. So, I mean, come on. Like, Charlie didn't have that kind of influence back then. So it's like, do they just have a stable of hot chicks that are like,
they were early adopted. They see the potential in them.
Right now, there's like 1,000 Jewish girls pretending to be Catholic, trying to like suck up the.
We're gonna have to kill that guy in a couple
Christian
years.
Movement.
Go send out a girl.
This is so wild.
What?
Like, come on. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. It's like, this stuff is hilarious. Now, that doesn't mean that she's not Jewish. It doesn't mean that her family's not tied to those things. It just means that like coordinating that stuff is rough, which is why you end up not getting the smoking gun. You have a bunch here. Let me give it to people real easy. Humans are dangerous. They will kill somebody that gets in their way. It is super expedient. And it works at the street gang level. It works all the way up to governmental levels. You can go back in history, and political figures are murdered all the time. When things are not going well, people just go, well, if I just killed them. So it's like, you don't have to go like deep conspiracy to go, oh, a guy as influential as Charlie Kirk in a time as divided as we have now, there's probably a bunch of people that had reason to want him dead. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's the moment that we're in right now. People legitimately believe, when polled, that violence may be necessary to get the country on the right track again. So when you have people like believing that, it's like, rather than get into the rabbit hole conspiracy of it all, it's like, just describe the things on the surface. And if the things on the surface are heinous in and of themselves, like, we don't have to get crazy and like connect all these dots. Like, you can look at what's going on in Israel, Palestine on the surface and just be like, oh, this is wild. Like, you don't have to go into deep conspiracy on either side. You don't have to go far to be like, I don't care how much human shielding they're doing. You just can't keep bombing a country. Cool. You've got a moral stance. You want to draw a line in the sand as long as it's policy for the whole world, and you're going to scream just as loud when anybody does it. Wonderful. The bad news is that there's like crazy shit going on across the globe, and people are super focused on what's happening in Israel for the reason that I've talked about endlessly. I think that we just historically have pointed to the Jews, and that's a big part of the problem. And then also, you don't have to dig far to understand that you can't have a terrorist group running a country. That's just never going to work. So regardless of how, quote unquote, justified they may be to be a terrorist organization, you can't have that. Yeah. So again, you can have a full and complete argument that leads to resolution of these issues just by talking about the stuff that's obvious, and you don't have to get conspiratorial.
Speaking of terrorist organizations running a country,
yep,
the government is still shut down. And shout out to the Senate.
I want to know is the Senate the terrorist organization in this?
So I didn't think I would ever have this, like, to your point of we're in some alternative timeline. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out with a banger right after we just covered a Candace Owens banger. So clearly the crazy women aren't too crazy themselves. So MTG is breaking with MAGA Republicans about the new Obama ACA healthcare subsidies that's been the cause of the government shutdown. Reading her tweet directly, she says the toothpaste Obamacare ACA is out of the tube. Trying to make it clear that I think the entire system is messed up. I think we all do. Health insurance is vastly unaffordable for all Americans, especially since the cost of living has skyrocketed in the past 4.5 years. For example, small business owners, family of 4, are paying insane monthly premiums of $2,000 plus, with deductibles $7,000 to $10,000, and premiums go up every year. Healthy people pay $20,000 per year in health insurance premiums and hardly get sick, yet they are burning money wagering against the fear of what if I get in a bad car accident or get cancer and need health insurance. We are importing doctors from foreign countries because we don't have enough American doctors who are being strangled by health insurance companies and regulations. People with insurance are crushed by higher hospital bills that subsidize uninsured people's hospital bills, and the list of problems go on and on. This is in reaction to, she retweeted herself. This is the second part of her tweet. I was not in Congress when all this Obamacare Affordable Care Act bullshit started. I got here in 2021. As a matter of fact, the ACA made health insurance unaffordable for my family after it was passed, and with skyrocketing premiums higher than our house payment. Let's just say that as nicely as possible, I'm not a fan. But I'm not going to go against everyone on this issue, because when the tax credits expire this year, my own adult children's health insurance premiums for 2006 are going to 2026 are going to double, along with all of the wonderful families and hardworking people in my district. No, I'm not towing the party line on this or playing loyalty games. I'm a Republican and won't vote for illegals to have any taxpayer-funded health care or benefits. I'm America only. I'm carving my own lane. And I am absolutely disgusted that health insurance premiums will double if the tax credits expire this year. Also, I think health insurance and all insurance is a scam. Just to be clear, not a single Republican in leadership talked to us about this or has given us a plan to help Americans deal with their health insurance premiums doubling. Our country sent $30 billion to Israel in 2024 alone, killing countless innocent children, and sent hundreds of billions to Ukraine in the past few years. By the way, I voted no to all of that murder. America has funded the Ukrainian government, Ukraine, pensions, and Ukrainian businesses during this entire stupid war that America should have nothing to do with. All our country does is fund foreign countries and foreign wars and never does anything to help American people. It is absolutely shameful, disgusting, and traitors that our laws and policies screw the American people so much that the government is shut down right now, fighting over basic issues like this. Again, no funding for illegals and any benefits for them, but we have to do something about the absolutely insane cost of insurance for Americans. You don't hate your government enough. I'm here in Washington, D.C. this week to help with anyone who is America only and will work with me on a plan for Americans only. Breathe.
Okay. I mean, look, there's a lot of truth in that, and then America only is just so ignorant to the realities of a hyper-connected world that we live in. So it's like they say something smart out of one side of their mouth and then immediately hammer themselves in the face with the stupid stick. So this stuff gets difficult to parse. Okay, so health insurance. I totally get where she's coming from here. When you've got, if people's health care is going to double, there's no way people are going to lose their minds. They're going to freak out. But here is the one fundamental problem. Everybody's dealing with the symptoms. Nobody's dealing with the cause. You have a root cause problem. You have a root cause on the healthcare side. You have a root cause on the why is the economy so terrible side. And you have to start teasing them all out individually. So everything sucks on the economy side because we keep printing money. So we've got ourselves in a situation where the big, beautiful bill was financially reckless. And now the Democrats have shut down the government because they want to make it more reckless. So I'm just like, listen, at some point, you have to put people in a situation where we just go, we have a budget. We have to stick to the budget. So what are we going to cut? But we have to be doing this from a position of cutting. It's like this is my like, she's worried about what's going to happen to people when their healthcare doubles. And that is a very reasonable thing to worry about. I am worried about what they're going to do when everything doubles. And then when it hyperinflates into madness, and everybody thinks that it can't happen, it will happen. It is a math question. You're on a ticking clock. But it's one of those, the problem is so big and so terrifying. Everybody's just like, but wait, Tom, it's not going to happen this year? No, it's not going to happen this year. Well, word. Like, I'm just worried about this then.
The tax
it's like,
credits are
oh
happening
my
this year.
God.
Let's focus on
So
that. Yeah.
whatever year it was going to happen, let's say in the next 7 years, now it's going to happen in 4 years. So it's like, you can't keep spending more money. You can't keep spending more money. So you've got to stop the deficit. And by the way, your kids, the thing you should be worried about with your kids is they can't afford a house. So, Drew, we have options before us. Like you and I, for real, you and I have options. We're building a video game. We could just start doing a video game podcast. We could go live and talk about video games all day. And it's like, it is so weird living the life I'm living, which is the question I get asked all the time is, why'd you stop doing empowering content? And I'm like, I didn't stop doing empowering content. To empower yourself is to actually do a thing in your life that makes your life better. It isn't to listen to a radio show where a guy is effectively singing a song that makes you feel a way. That's what I did for years. Now, I was good at singing that song and people really did feel better, but they didn't change their life. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to keep singing the same song. This is not fucking interesting. I'm already rich. I'm not going to go on tour and sing this song over and over and over when I know you guys feel good at the concert. And as soon as you go home, you're back to a miserable life. You're not making any of the changes that you need to make to get on the right track. Then, because, and this is the part of my life that people just are completely unaware of, I had 1,000 employees that grew up in the inner cities. And when you see that up close, it is brutal. And so I was like, okay, how do I help them? This is long before cameras were there. I was just literally working side by side with them every day going, okay, this is an ideas problem. How do I help? So when COVID hits, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go all in on financial content. I really want to help these people. Everyone was screaming it's going to be terrible for our revenue, which it was in the beginning. But didn't care because I'm like, I really want to do something. And then, of course, you find out how the economy actually works. And you're like, oh, my God, like we're looking at the wrong problem. I have the same feeling when I see these kind of tweets. We are looking at the wrong problem. So let's say the horrible thing about healthcare, Drew, the horrible thing about healthcare is that healthcare costs would plummet if the average person were healthy. But the average person is not healthy. The average person is sick. Now, here's the really, really bad news. This is not a money problem. This isn't even a knowledge problem. This is
Americans being sick.
Americans being sick.
Copy.
So what RFK Jr. is fighting to do is make it so even if you have all the worst habits in the universe, you can't get sick. Okay? It's better than just letting corporations make food worse because you'll eat more and more and more. And then none of them care because they're like, like with Steve Jobs not letting his own kids use an iPhone. It's like, well, that says something. So I'm glad that he's doing it. And at the same time, I'm like, but right now, today, you could eat in a way without taking up the cost of your food. You could eat in a way that is dramatically healthier for you. You could do movement patterns that are dramatically better for you. And people just aren't going to do it. So it's like we're living this lifestyle because we have been prosperous for so long. It has absolutely battered us. We are now shortening our own lifespan. And we're looking for somebody else to solve the problem. And this is a classic case of nobody's coming to save you. Not only is nobody coming to save you, nobody could save you even if they wanted to. There are people that do Ozempic, get gastric bypass, and they find ways to eat ice cream. Like I remember when gastric bypass first came out and people discovered and started talking about this idea of slippery foods. Like you just risked your life to shrink the size of your stomach. And now you're like in support groups telling each other how to like get in extra calories, even with the smaller stomach. It's wild. So that's like the messiness of humanity. And here's another thing coming in my deep dive that people are really going to love. We've got to bring back personal responsibility. because the government is getting more and more expensive because people are like, hey, I keep smashing myself in the hand with a hammer. Is somebody going to do something about this? I'm going to need somebody to make hammers out of balloon material. I'm going to need somebody to make sure that I can get my hand repaired for free. It's like, bro, stop smashing yourself in the hand with a hammer.
I hate what the government is forcing me to become. And I think that all citizens should be healthy and educated, and everything else should be on you.
By fiat, or because everything should be on you?
Like you should be able to have an education that leads you to a prosperous life, meaning you could get as much degrees, certifications, trade schools, whatever. Like you have a path to adulthood, taking care of yourself. And I feel like if you're sick, going to the hospital shouldn't be and you have to clutch your pearls and you have to figure out what you're not going to sacrifice next month in your budget to succeed and all these things. But what we're seeing with the ACA happen right now, though, it's the same thing that happened with student loans. It's once the government starts backing certain things, the private sector that's involved in those practices are just like, oh, cool, times two. We got into student loans, tuition skyrocketed. They got into health care, insurance premium skyrocketed.
Yep.
So it's frustrating because it's like, yes, you want to give people access to these goods and these things, but it seems like every time the government says, I'm going to do it, somebody on the other side says, oh, government's involved? Okay, double the price. Now we can do it.
Yes.
And it's just that type of thing. So it seems like we need to get government out of a lot of these things to your personal responsibility.
Let's go.
We do have to remove that. But at the same time, I feel like there is a level of accountability. We do have to talk about the exploitation that a lot of these middlemen do. So, for example, there was a Medicaid fraud. I want to say it was in Florida or Miami or something like that, where there were literally pop-up businesses that were selling medical equipment to nobody, but they can bill it against Medicaid, and they were just milking money like that. Now, some of those practices aren't as prevalent as when they first came, but there are these DeVry profit for school universities that see, okay, government program is happening. How can we find a way to get a check, get a part of that bank? Yep. And it's those types of things that I think are making the cost more expensive for everybody, and it brings a burden on the system. But it seems like that's how I'm trying to just rectify those two things, because I don't want to just say we need to just get government out of everything and do everything ourselves.
Yep, and you would be right to do that. And there's a reason that I'm going to be very inflammatory for a second. There's a reason that weak people want government. And the reason weak people want government is together with a centralized government, you can protect yourselves. You can protect your borders. You can make sure that you're not invaded. And you can imagine on an evolutionary timescale, the number one thing you had to be fearful of was another human being. That human being would come. They would conquer your village specifically to get your resources and to take your women. And if you really put yourself in that position where it's like, at all times, I'm at risk of a marauding band of males coming in, killing me, taking my wife, raping her, forcing her to be their wife, having kids with her, and that's just that. And for a long time, like, women were the prize. Like, the reason that you went to war was for that. So you can understand why guys are like, I've got a brain and I'm not the brawniest or whatever, but I know how to organize other men. I know how to build defenses. I know how to protect myself from that. So I'm going to do it. So that is extremely potent. And I am very grateful for that. Problem is, everything's a trade-off. And so this is why I bang on about evolution has a two-angle strategy. So it understands the blind watchmaker. I mean, when I say it understands, but the blind watchmaker will realize over time that what you end up getting is when you offer things to people for free, which is what people who tend personality-wise towards what we now call the left, that those people will create a free rider problem. You're giving people something for free. Humans are designed to exploit opportunity. Like, you don't even have to think of it as a negative thing. This is how we do well with, like, oh, if I put a net in, I can catch a bunch of fish at once. Oh my God, now we're going to be able to eat. We'll be able to scale. So that thing that we're very good at, people will point it at anything. So you're always going to have people that exploit the niches. As a game developer, you learn about this very quickly, that people will hack a game. If a game is hackable, they're going to hack it. And you'll be like, but what, the point is to play and have fun. What? And nonetheless, if there is any clout to be gained from winning, people are going to cheat. So, okay, we've got this free rider problem. We are always going to have to protect against that. And so that's where you need the right. And you need people that go, and this is when people point to Scandinavian countries. It's like, oh, Ask me again or tell me this again in 25 years. Their immigration problems are so bad, all the things that you're celebrating them for will go away because they ride on the back of a cohesive society. Because what ends up happening is they all share a value set. And so they will look at you, they will sweat you, pressure you if you're not in line with, like, this is how good Norwegians do it. And you're not doing it like a good Norwegian, so fuck you. Like, if you've seen some of the immigrant stuff in Canada where they're going to, like, parks and, like, snatching up swans, killing them, taking them home and eating them, people are like, what the fuck? You never had to protect against that with Canadians because you raise a kid, like, don't harass the swan, right? And so once you stop having that, now the cultures are clashing. Now it's like, oh, these things don't work anymore. Okay, so when you have a society, if a society was like, bro, if you eat that Twinkie, I swear to God, I'm gonna beat you to death with my tax dollars, then all of a sudden people go, oh shit, like, I guess we stay healthy. That's what we do here. And so now if you've got a whole society that's staying healthy, you can go, cool, the government takes care of people in terms of healthcare. And also, by the way, if you look at Norway and some of the geographical stuff that they have that's made it possible, from the massive oil reserves to the fjords that they had that made them a far more collectivist society, we can do like a whole treatise on the Nordic countries. But there are reasons that they are the way that they are. And so there are trade-offs that they can make that we're not going to be able to make as a far more diverse society. So you have to decide what your trade-off is. If you want a bunch of freeloaders, do what we're doing now. You are going to go broke. Or if you want to make sure that there's like a minimum like bar that we're going to make sure nobody falls below, it's like, okay, cool. So we're all going to pay for that. But what are we giving up in order to pay for that? You can't pay for everything, which is what we're trying to do now.
Because that's the thing is, like, when we started this public policy, there was a certain, okay, once you're below the poverty line, there's tax incentive, there's grants, there's free. That's where the quote unquote freebies came out. So it seemed like we were on track with it at one point, but then something broke bad. And then the budget just exploded. Things became too expensive.
We were on track. No. America has never had the right approach to this. So,
so you think we never got the social programs right from its origin?
100% not. So what you end up with is regulatory capture. This is why watch what Mark Cuban is doing. Shout out to whoever you were dealing with on Mark Cuban's team. We almost had him this week, and it just became a logistical problem. But what Mark Cuban is doing is saying, okay, I'm going to use free market principles, and I'm going to go and I'm just going to drive the cost down. And so you create these entrepreneurial opportunities. But if you make it impossible for them due to the structure of negotiations with the government, et cetera, then you create a framework in which it is impossible for the free market to do its thing. And so looking at that, because we're a free market society, that I don't think we want to become Nordic. I don't think we want to try to become China. We want to be America. There's a reason that America has been the most badass country on planet Earth for 250 years. We leaned into freedom. That was like our take, right? So whenever you launch a new product, it has to be different and better. You launch a new video game, it has to be different and better. If you're going to launch a new country, it has to be different and better. And so we launched a country that was different and better. And so we said, cool, what we're going to run is the freedom experiment. And it smashed. And then slowly over time, we've become far less free. And as we have become far less free, and again, I stand up for government. We want government. Weak men need government. But ultimately, that can metastasize. It can become too big, and you become, in some ways, a victim of your own success. We haven't had to be hungry. We haven't had to make trade-offs for so long. We've been able to export all of our inflation to the rest of the world. And because of that, we have quite literally and figuratively got fat lazy and entitled. And entitled might be the biggest problem. So free market it up. Not all the way. We want some regulations. Companies will tend towards tyranny just like a government will. So you do need some checks and balances, but yeah, we want to allow entrepreneurs to make things cheap.
Yeah, and it's only gonna get worse as far as the government shutdown perspective is concerned, because now Trump is threatening that federal workers who are facing furlough or non-payment over the shutdown will not be getting back pay.
Yeah, the odds that this becomes partisan are basically 100%. He said, and this is a paraphrase, but it's very close to a direct quote, Some people deserve to get paid and we'll take care of them. And some people don't deserve to get paid and we'll take care of them in another way. That is almost verbatim. So what does he mean by that? I'm going to guess, this is just a guess, but since I've heard him say unhinged things like this before, I'm going to guess that basically boils down to if you were a Biden Democrat, higher is probably the right word to use. We think that some massive percentage of those were illegitimate and we just want to thin the herd. And so those people are not going to get paid. And so it's going to end up breaking very sort of party line-ish. He's right in terms of basically all of the job gains during the Biden administration were government jobs. That's terrible. It does not create anything. It just takes. But he just is completely uncaring or blind to the fact that his moves are so partisan that it just escalates this division in the country. He would have to approach it as not being at all, don't talk about Biden, don't talk about Democrats, just say, the government has a problem right now. The government, we spend more than we bring in tax dollars. That is crippling the youth. That is the foundation to all of our problems. All the things that manifest as social issues are really economic issues in disguise. When there's enough to go around, everybody's fine, right? People don't kill the Jews in times of plenty. Okay? Pogroms happen when you're in an economically dire situation. That's when people start doing that. So people talk about this in entrepreneurship circles all the time. Like, you don't have a problem that sales can't cure, because even if your systems are wildly inefficient, if you're making a ton more money, you can be inefficient. So all of this stuff ends up being an economic problem. So we have destroyed multiple generations. We are making it so hard for them to get ahead. Even just, man, if I have gamers in the crowd right now, I've been auditing the millennial vision on video games. Absolutely fascinating. And in that, you hear a cry for help, which is that an $80 video game is so expensive because we make so little money and have so much crushing debt that we just feel like we're being trolled by the entire gaming industry, and it feels personal to them. So again, this is not so much a problem of the games are getting too expensive. This is a problem of your real wages haven't gone up. And so given that your real wages haven't gone up, that's the real problem. And so now we need to address that. So if Trump were coming out and saying, okay, listen, we have this problem. It's an economic problem. It's all of our problem. No one's coming to save us. We've got to get ourselves out of this. And it's a two-pronged approach. Prong number one is we really do have to limit the scope of government, because government is spending so much money that we're just making it harder and harder for the next generation. We've got to essentially get our boot off the neck of anybody who's under like 40 years old. And the way that we do that is we have to reduce government expenditures. And then we have to unlock growth. Now, Trump is actually good at unlocking growth. He's really trying. He may not succeed, but he's really trying. I think he's very sincere on that. I think his identity is tied up in that. He sees himself as somebody who's good at business, good at the deal. And so I think he's sincere. Again, whether he ends up being effective or not is a different question. But he's trying on that side. On the we have to cut costs, he's not trying. And he is perfectly happy to cut things that he doesn't like as long as he gets to spend money on things he does like. And so on that side, he's hyper partisan, and he'll even frame it as partisan instead of just like do the partisan thing, but don't use the partisan language. At least that would be a step in the right direction. But he won't be able to do that.
In general, do you think, what's your take on like the healthcare of America? Do you think we just we gut Obamacare, go back to a private system, people who fall off to 10 to 20, we'll just have to kind of figure it out, those 10 to 20 million? Or do you think there is some type of public option and we just need to...
50 years ago, I could see doing that. Right now, we have bastardized the economic system so horrifically, you can't do it. I think you need a Manhattan-style project. And by that, I just mean we need the sharpest minds on it. And then we need them to message to the public relentlessly about what we're going to do. And so I saw some of this in RFK and what he was trying to do. But it would need to go something like this. We're going to help make America healthy, and then we're going to deregulate the industry to invite in entrepreneurs to make this cheap. And a thing that we have lost sight of in America that makes me furious, the only people who generate tax revenue are entrepreneurs, full stop. Entrepreneurs create businesses, they employ people who then are able to pay taxes.
Income taxes.
And that's it. There is nothing else. And so when I see people looking at this as if there is some other thing, it drives me wild. And so part of the reason that America has thrived as well as it has thrived is because it took on a very entrepreneurial, I'll even say that prior to like strict capitalism, it was an entrepreneurial nation. Then on top of that, you layer the actual effectiveness of the structure of aggregating capital, which gives you the capitalist society that we see now. And as that became more and more successful, then people exploited it. And so it became regulatory capture. It became, let me get all the laws that work for me and not for other people. So all the money in politics and all that stuff. So it would need to be a project of make America healthy, get entrepreneurs in, and then the final realization that when people say that inflation is 2%, what they mean is inflation could be, people are going to think I'm exaggerating, inflation could be 52%. And what I mean is over time, hear me when I say, over time, costs should be going down. Costs are going down. And the reason they don't appear to go down is because we inflate the money supply. And so the government steals all of that technologically led deflation, which is good, and then sold a lie to the world and told them that deflation is bad. That is a lie. That is a lie. Like, I'm actually angry right now. That is a lie. And it is one of the most persistent lies that people just have baked into their system. They hear deflation and they think, oh my God, this is terrible. Crisis-led deflation is bad, but innovation-led deflation is everything we hope it will be. And by the way, when people talk about AI ushering in a utopia, what they mean is it'll be deflationary. So why is it all of a sudden utopian when it's done by AI, but any other time we're like, no, this is catastrophic. The reason it has to be painted as catastrophic is so that the government can print money. And so when we get to a positive inflation number, we've eaten through all of the deflation and eaten into it so much that it becomes inflationary. That is offensive. That is grotesque.
And this is perfect topic on for the super chat we just got. So shout out to Shaq Powers.
Yeah.
Thank you for the $49.99 super chat. Tom, longtime listener. Could you please do deep dives on one, historic cases of innovation-led deflation, and two, who navigated the collapse of the pound well and how?
No.
Thanks and happy 101st.
No, we cannot. So here is the very bad news about the deep dives. The deep dives have come out of nowhere to be our highest performing content by a country mile. The reason they're our highest performing content by a country mile is we are obsessive about the topics that we write about. So we write about topics that we are extremely confident will perform well. If you look back, there was a stretch where I just picked topics like that. Someone would say something, I'd be like, let's write about that. That sounds awesome. I want to learn about that. And then it would be like 7 out of 10. 1 out of 10 is where you want to live. So we realized, that's not going to work. So we can certainly talk about it here, but deep dives have to be bangers. Deep dives are we are trying to write a hit.
I love it. I want to go international.
Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
Yes, really appreciate it, Shaq Powers. I want to go international for a bit because you talked about this earlier that China, just one in general, China being our number one rival, we are always kind of comparing ourselves. They're kind of our litmus test, how we do things, how they do things. There's some speculation right now that Xi is using.
Before you go, Brutus just dropped a super chat that meets our threshold and is on the topic that we're already on.
I missed that.
It just came in.
Boom. Okay, Brutus Lugo, thank you for the $20 super chat.
Thank you, Brutus.
Thank you. Shout out to Brutus. What other country even has a private?
Wow.
Yeah, that's like a studio audience. We got people here now. What other country even has a private healthcare system and has been successful? What makes you think this is a sustainable path to go down opposed to public healthcare?
Okay, I'm going to need to read that again. I was dealing with my microphone here. What other country even has a private healthcare system? Why can't I scroll that? Can you still?
Yeah,
What is happening right now?
Yeah, it's on here. What
can't I
other
spell it?
country even has a private healthcare system and has been successful? What makes you think this is a sustainable path to go down opposed to public healthcare?
Okay. So the way that private healthcare would work, which by the way is not my pitch, so if that's what came across, I was saying that might have worked 50 years ago, but certainly won't work today. Given the psychology of humans, I don't think that this is a tenable thing right now. But all of human history had no healthcare. You got sick, you died. Sorry, bro. First of all, we didn't have the medicine for it, and you had to go convince like the shaman or whatever to take care of you. So healthcare is
the medicine
really
man in the village.
Literally, healthcare is a new phenomenon. And we're saying, well, now that we can save lives, we ought to, and we ought to essentially pay whatever it takes to get there. Okay, cool. I don't have any problem getting behind that. I just want people to understand that this is all a trade-off. You can't pay for infinite things. So if what we're saying is, I'm going to keep you alive, and I'm just not going to do a lot of other stuff for you. Okay, like there's certainly some logic to that. But it's like, well, then you might have to extend the retirement age to 80. And it's like, well, if you want to be alive in this country and have all your health care, you're going to work forever. I actually don't have a beef with that. I think people aren't going to find that very popular, but like it's a trade-off. So yeah, if you're not willing to let people die, then you're not going to be able to do privatized healthcare.
What are some things that should be on the government budget and should get taken off the government budget, in your opinion? Like, what should government in 2025 pay for?
You're asking one guy. I would never want to be the arbiter of this. I think that the collective needs to decide what we want to pay for, and I'm happy to make my contributions to whatever the collective decides, because I really believe we need to move forward, lockstep, unity, all that. But what do I personally believe? To me, healthcare is a very good one. But I do think that you need to figure something out in terms of there needs to be a very extreme expectation for people in terms of you're going to keep yourself healthy. I don't see a way to do that other than cultural pressure, because if you try to make that top down, that's going to be an absolute mess. But I think that we're going to have to cut way too many things out of the government to just keep funding healthcare if we don't do that. But if society was like, yeah, let's pay for that, I would totally understand that. I would much rather see us make a sort of even keel contribution, like here are the basics, you get a basic healthcare package. But where the government comes in is the government is going way out of their way to bring entrepreneurs into the healthcare system to make sure that you can trigger the greedy selfishness of the smartest individuals in the world onto the thing that we're saying that we care the most about, which is healthcare. So if it's like, oh, we're willing to pay a fortune, both publicly and privately, for health, which people will, yeah, then make that a place where people can go to get wealthy. Like doctors should be getting wealthy. People that innovate on the technology should be getting wealthy. And all of that stuff will drive those costs down. And so imagine if you said capital gains is 25% or whatever it is, 23, something like that. Percent for every industry except healthcare, and healthcare capital gains is 2%.
Everybody will invest in capital.
The amount of money that would pour into healthcare innovation would be insane. So it's like little things like that. Like once you accept that, oh, capitalism is the thing that we want to trigger. Oh, that person being selfish is not a dick move. We can just like harness that untapped mega potential of, you have really smart people that are just asking themselves, where's the money? And Drew, in a single word, can you tell me where all of those really bright people go?
Entrepreneurship school?
Nope, don't I wish. They go into finance. So they all bet on entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's it. They move money around. And once you understand that right now, the place to make money is all in investing. Why? Because of inflation, Drew. That's not the only reason, because it is gambling. And if you're very good at gambling, then you can win a lot of money. But nonetheless, right now, the smartest people that are money motivated, they all go into finance. And we need them to go into the areas that we give a shit about. And so it's like, cool. if you want healthcare, stroke a law that says for the next 25 years, 30 years, whatever, capital gains will not change off of 2% for innovations in these and list 750 things that you want to see solved in healthcare. It would be insane. That's like the dumb thing I can think of off the top of my head. So it's like there will be more. But people are so unwilling to accept that these are trade-offs. They so want to punish people for being successful. They don't want to do that.
And we got a couple beefs in the chat that you didn't technically answer the super chat. Brutus Lugos. So I'm assuming that you're saying...
I'm assuming they're not listening because I answered it directly. And I don't know if they just wanted more words. So once again, what society has thrived with private healthcare? None. All of human history, though, there was no fucking healthcare. So it is a default that that people are going to die, and that you, for all of human history, had to just go pay the shaman to like fucking put leeches on you. That like somehow people are abstracting it. What I'm saying is this is a recent phenomenon, and human psychology is such that we don't want that. So no society that I'm aware of has thrived with private healthcare. I don't know how much clearer to make that. It's not what anybody's going for. I don't see anybody anywhere in the world saying, hey, that's the play. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, yeah, this isn't the play. So I'm not sure why that was unclear the first time. My apologies if it was. But yeah, that feels pretty direct. So, and then the more important part, which is what I spent the most words on, is that we need to understand how to actually fix the problem. And fixing the problem isn't privatizing healthcare. Fixing the problem is inviting entrepreneurs in to make it cheap, and then don't just money print all the advances away.
Ipso facto. All right, let's jump over to China right now. I feel like we need a unified enemy, and I'm hoping China messes up so that way we can stop focusing on eating each other and start focusing on eating somebody else. You know, we need a bad guy to rally around. So I'm hoping China's
our guy?
Yeah, like they might fall in line. So, but yeah, let's dive into Fox Business.
Welcome back. Now China is pushing President Trump to drop security restrictions on Chinese deals in America in exchange for a massive investment into the U.S. as trade negotiations are underway. The president is considering an aid package for American soybean farmers as Beijing boycotts U.S. imports.
Bro, if Trump really just outweighed Xi and Trump pushed him into a corner that was like, okay, I'm Xi, nobody gets to push me around. Because people don't understand. They don't understand Xi. They think Xi is Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping was like, doesn't matter if the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. Deng Xiaoping introduced capitalism. Xi Jinping is taking us back to Mao and like the authoritarian top-down rule, I'm dictator for life, like that whole thing. And it's terrifying. As somebody who wants to see China thrive, I don't want them to beat us, but I want to see them thrive. Like, I'm not trying to hobble anybody. I don't want to kneecap the competitors. But so he's not moving us in a good direction. Everybody, and look, the jury's still out. Trump really may be the buffoon here. But everybody clowned on Trump, saying China's in a way stronger position. We're going to be able to outlast America. People were like, they're a dictator. Like they can really, I mean, I said they were a dictator and they could just make their people wait. And Trump was like, nah, like this is going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt us. And Besant just kept telling people, hey, whenever you're the place that they're selling the stuff to, you're in a far better position than being the one that's trying to sell the stuff. And if this ends up playing out, oh buddy, if this like comes to pass, like if either Xi gets ousted and somebody new comes in and is like, hey, let's do a deal, or Xi finally lets a deal be made, ooh buddy, Drew, that will be it'll be Trump and Candace holding hands, like doing victory laps as she is somehow proven correct. And if Trump is able to pull this off with China, oh my God. All right, anyway, that's all speculation. Let's hear what our lady has to say here.
He's also vowing to confront China's Xi Jinping at their upcoming meeting on the sidelines of the APEC summit at the end of this month. Joining me now with more on all of this is the Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow, Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to ask you about this deal that Beijing is trying to get President Trump to accept. I mean, you're talking about a major Chinese investment pledge up to $1 trillion. Is that going to get President Trump to relax security rules on Beijing? What do you think?
Well, President Trump actually floated the idea when he told the American people that it would be a good idea that there would be more Chinese investment in the U.S. But he hasn't pursued it, which looks like he was really just sort of floating a balloon. This would be an extraordinarily bad idea because Chinese investment buys Chinese influence.
Correct.
And there's already way too much Chinese influence corrupting our country.
Yeah, bro. So if I've got to promise the U.S. that I'm going to invest $1 trillion in you, I'm going to snatch up some more farmland. I'm going to buy a bunch of real estate. It's like Trump would have to be very explicit about like what would actually help us and put them in a tough spot. Something like advanced manufacturing here in the U.S. would be more useful. But the thing that gives me the heebie-jeebies there is part of the reason that they let Tesla into China was to learn from what he was doing from a manufacturing standpoint. Mm-hmm. Tesla gave birth to the electrical vehicle industry in China. Tesla. Mm-hmm. And now Tesla's like a small player.
Yeah, BYD like leaped them.
Yeah. So anyway, it's risky. I do worry a little bit about heavy China investment.
Yeah, I think, one, we got to talk about the soybean thing because somebody in the chat shouted it out and I appreciate it. You know how Argentina is going through the financial problems. We bailed out Argentina by giving them an IMF loan, a loan through the IMF. Argentina got in front of our deal with China because we were the soybean providers for China. Argentina is now selling them to China for a lower cost. So Trump got beef. I helped Argentina out. Now you guys kind of lowballed us to Xi. Xi's on it, just playing a whole nother game because he's like, all right, you guys are being stingy with the chips and all this. I'm going to undercut you on the soybeans. So it seems like this is all James Burnham, political theater, political maneuvering. Everybody's trying to get a business deal done to make their country look the best. Am I missing it by reading it that plainly?
I would read it a little bit differently. Okay. And I would say when people are desperate, they're going to do desperate things. Mm-hmm. And so Argentina, obviously, Malay's entire career is bet on whether he can pull off all of the moves that he's pulled off. And if they just hit as severe of a hiccup as it sounds like they hit, he's going to be desperate to like do whatever the hell he can. Yeah. And so he's running some calculus that's like, listen, I got the loan. This is going to upset Trump, but we'll be able to smooth it over. I'll be able to sweet talk him. If Xi really is in danger of losing power because of what's happening in the economy, then he's also going to do deals with whoever, wherever. So it's not political theater. This is like fighting for survival.
Yeah.
And also China has been very shrewd over decades about doing international deals, about doing things that box America out, about doing things that make them stronger and give them regional influence. And so here's the really bad news. When Mao was in charge and his own people were starving to death, tens of millions at a time, he was still selling grain internationally to curry favor, to get weapons. So China does not have a good history of like brokering deals with like sort of high ethics and morals at the center of their calculus. So we'll see. I don't know enough about the soybean thing specifically to know. Maybe it's just a good business move and no big deal, nothing to see here. Or it could be that Xi is like doing desperation moves, does not care if it's good for his people or not, is just trying to like basically antagonize the U.S. and hurt the U.S. in any way, shape, or form that he can. So let's let him go on because they make some interesting points, but I don't yet know how much of this is real. We're going to need to see because so often people say that China is about to go under. People have said that Putin's losing power and he never does. So I don't know that Xi's actually losing power. But he makes some interesting claims here in a second.
Into our country.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to have to rewind it. He may have said it when I was
corrupting
talking.
our country. So we should be going in the opposite direction, not encouraging Chinese money into our country.
Yeah, I mean, Xi Jinping knows that President Trump wants more and more investment into America. He's trying to float this now in front of him, but you're dealing with an adversary here, and they're undermining America at every turn. So I agree, this is very important to walk carefully around, Gordon. I mean, South Korean news outlets are reporting that the Chinese delegation may have canceled their hotel reservations in Seoul, raising questions about Xi's attendance there. You mentioned this to me first last week when I saw you off camera. You said you think they've canceled the hotel reservations. What do you think is happening here? Is Xi Jinping going to show up?
Yeah, we don't know. David Perdue, our ambassador to Beijing on September 23, publicly said in Beijing that it was unlikely that Presidents Trump and Xi Jinping would meet this year.
That's huge.
That was 4 days, Maria, after Trump,
especially in the middle of the trade
social
war
posting, said that he would meet Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit. This is extraordinary. We don't know exactly what's going on, but it tends to corroborate these rumors of intense infighting at the top of the Chinese political system. Because if Xi Jinping doesn't meet Trump this year, it means probably that Xi Jinping is not going to APEC. If he's not going to APEC, it could mean that he's not permitted to leave China, or he does not want to leave China for fear of not being able to get back in. We just
Bro, do you know how crazy that is?
But we do.
So listen, that is hearsay. Who knows? We don't know that this is true. But the fact that he's saying that Xi Jinping might not be able to leave China because he might not be able to get back in, like, yo, that would, needless to say, be extremely disruptive to China. So, man, we'll see. But I don't love him being a dictator for life. And so, man, I hate to say it, I don't want to see China become unstable, even if that does help the U.S. But I really don't want to see them with a dictator. So we'll see.
I feel like that's a bomb right there, because we were talking about tariff revenue. And yes, we're playing the tariff game. Yes, we made deals with smaller companies, but the China deal is the deal. This is what makes or break the tariff policy.
Oh, yes. And if what we're seeing, the stars in the sky, the constellation that they actually put together, if that really is that the trade war with China, the U.S. was able to break China to the point where they oust their leader for life, that would be a massive win, a massive win for us.
But I mean, shouldn't we figure out who's the next leader first, though? Before
we should look. That kind of thing can break bad, but you would presume that they're not saying, oh, Xi is just not being a big enough bully. You would assume that what they're saying is, we need somebody that can actually do business with the U.S. We need somebody that's not going to be so antagonistic. We need somebody that isn't just this prideful. I am very much projecting now. But when I watched the way he handled COVID with the zero COVID policy, it was like somebody was completely unhinged from reality, who thought just because I make a strong enough edict that will make this thing go away. It's like, bro, viruses don't work like that. Good luck. And so that was like iron boot time. Yeah. And so when I saw that, I was like, ooh, this guy will really like double down, triple down, quintuple down on a position. Which is not always the smartest thing. Say what you want about Taco Tuesdays with Trump, but it's like he knows when to back off of a position. He'll float something out. Oh, people don't like that. Cool, I'm going to maneuver around it. Xi obviously does not do that. That is not his tendency. And so given his refusal to engage in meaningful dialogue directly with Trump, that feels like, from my Westerner tin ears, that very much feels like somebody who is so locked in the Chinese perspective of everybody needs to recognize the hierarchy, everybody needs to know who the top dog is here, and Xi sees China now as having surpassed the U.S. You have to read the book on Xi Jinping. It is a very fascinating book, very contemporary, written very recently, and the hypothesis being put forward is people do not understand how different Xi is from Deng Xiaoping. They don't understand that this is somebody that has been very quiet about like where we are on the world stage, and then has rapidly ratcheted up. No, now we've leapfrogged the US. Now we're going to start being, I don't remember if the word they used was disrespectful. It was either disrespectful or dismissive. So it's like, we're going to be dismissive of the US. And it's like, that's not the person that you want from an American perspective. That's not the person that you want in charge of China. And if China is now saying, hey, fuck nuts. Like, we can't have you acting like that, regardless of whether we're ahead of America or not. We need to recognize right now this is a multipolar world. Maybe one day we want to be a unipolar world. We're not there. So we need to figure out ways to recognize that these tariffs alone are causing us massive problems. Now, I'm way reading into this. I don't know that's where we're at, but that certainly is corroborated by what these guys are saying.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're scared to leave your country with fear of getting back in,
now we don't know that's what's going on,
claims
and
that
that's a prediction in the future. But it's like the fact that those are the rumors that are coming out of China, we'll see. I think a lot of times this stuff is overblown. Also, never underestimate Xi Jinping. The fact that he was able to rise to the top of Chinese politics and make himself supreme leader for life is like, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Based off the research in the book and stuff that you read on him, do you know what his North Star is? I mean, of course, I'm not expecting you to give me the full philosophy of him, but like,
I can give
is
you
he China? Is it the 100 years embarrassment that he's trying to overcome? Like,
yes,
what's
but the fastest way to understand Xi Jinping's take is that China has the mandate of heaven. China is meant to be the quote unquote middle kingdom, the most important kingdom in the world. Like, that is what God intends for China. So anytime that isn't true, like, now we've got a problem. Gotcha. And so he believes that that is God's will, and that's what we have to get back to. Okay.
I feel like when radical Islamists say that,
I was just going to say, I mean, here's the whenever people are invoking God like that, but it is a very common thing that humans like to do. Yeah. We're the chosen ones, right? You hear that a lot. So it is what it is, man.
All right, if I can find my mouse, I could go over to this super chat that Miguel Steak and Chains
Let's
gave
go.
us. Shout out to Miguel Steak and Chains.
Super chat.
Can I kill this lover, Eric?
Sure.
You sure?
Yeah, no.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. No. I don't know.
Thank you, Miguel Steak and Chains, for the 1999 super chat. What is the economic ramifications with more and more companies being purchased and owned by foreign companies? Does that remove USD from the U.S. markets?
All right. Miguel Steak and Chains.
I think the USD still remains in the U.S. market because we're still transacting in U.S. dollars. We haven't gone there yet.
Yeah, the economic ramifications of more and more companies being purchased and owned by foreign companies, if they're in the United States, is very low, because you're going to be employing American workers. That's going to be generating the tax revenue. They're going to be taxed here in the U.S. So that isn't a really big concern. It doesn't mean anything for USD at all. What matters to USD is what are transactions being transacted in? What do people around the world want to save in? Right now, the answer is still USD. You don't have a real competitor with China. People don't trust China, so they're not going to be storing things in that currency. But certainly over time, the number of transactions globally that are being handled in USD is going down. If I'm really honest, the biggest challenge to the US dollar is Bitcoin itself. But
US dollars reserve currency status.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So when you think about what do people want to save in?
Bitcoin.
I want to save in Bitcoin.
For sure.
So I'm like a Bitcoin gold guy. Yeah. So, and right now, like, people are sleeping on gold, dude. Gold just cost $4,000 for the first time.
My mom called me and says, Drew, you need to buy gold. I'm like, Mom, you don't even trade. What are you talking about?
Your mom was right a year ago. Now I'd be a little bit slower because you're in all-time high territory. And gold is a commodity, so it doesn't have the volatility of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin probably still has a lot of upside volatility. But gold, we'll see, because people do rush to gold in times of economic uncertainty. People should take, in my opinion, the rise in price in gold as a vote against U.S. hegemony for sure, U.S. stability definitely. So that is betting that America will suddenly stabilize is probably a bad bet. So your mom might still be right. I just always get nervous when, like,
all-time highs,
your mom who doesn't pay attention is like, gold. That's like, I forget, I think it was the Chase who said when the shoeshine boy tells you to buy stocks, like, it's time to get out of the stock market, full stop. So we might be reaching that with gold, but gold as a signal, I think it does tell a very true story.
And I was trying to look for the story, but I didn't pull the link in time. But the Japanese bond market has gotten to historic highs, and people say that's usually the recession indicator that, from like a global perspective, like because Japan is usually, I don't want to say the safe bet, but like
Japan is not the safe bet now,
it's like a leading indicator to foreign investment, and a lot of times it tracks with.
I'd have to look at that. I'm very surprised by that. So the yen carry trade has been tumultuous to say the least in the last 2 years. So I'll have to check. I don't have a strong.
Somebody, if you laid over the bond market to like the last 3 or 4 recessions in the U.S., when the Japanese bond market starts to spike, it was 28, spiked again, 20, the second Great Recession, whatever. So there was correlation there. I don't know if it's necessarily causation, but I say all that to say is that internationally, it seems like there's a lot of the cards are being reshuffled in a lot of ways from an economic standpoint. But let us jump into the Stephen Miller on CNN debate. I just have a clip. I couldn't find the full video, so I definitely want you to set us up if you can, Tom. Oh, I put it on my computer now.
Yeah, so there's a big debate going on right now about is Trump being an authoritarian dictator by going into Portland and Chicago, or is there enough violence in Portland and Chicago to justify the fact that he's doing this? And Stephen Miller was certainly very aggressive. Not that that is anything other than his exact usual mode, but was feeling pretty spicy in his response.
And since the day we came in, ICE officers have been subjected to a nonstop campaign of physical violence and harassment. Every single day, every night, they come, they fight, they physically attack. For what purpose?
Protesters.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people?
That is it's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks, they're taking jobs away from Latinos, and of course they're committing heinous.
It's not a dumb question, and the only honest answer is, I certainly hope so, because if you are not playing the odds, that like if you know illegal aliens, like that's where you're going to start. So from an efficiency standpoint, boys and girls, can we just call a spade? But obviously he can't say that. And so, I mean, kudos to him. The administration would have lost their minds. But to me, when he laughed and said, what a dumb question, that felt so fake.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And I want to say that
Mexicans are being profiled. I will just tell you that right now, and I've got a Mexican right here. And we walk Eric to his car to make sure that he doesn't get hacked. I'm kidding.
But there is this sentiment now, though, that it's the stop and frisk equivalent. For those that don't know, New York City there was trying to cut down on crime.
Yep.
Every time a cop seen somebody that they suspect, they could stop them, frisk them right there on the spot, no questions asked.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, so I think
but it's
ICE
also
is doing the equivalent
logical.
of that.
Yeah, horrible, logical.
I don't know if you also seen this weekend when ICE, they blocked a bunch of cars blocked.
We're going to need to let him finish.
Okay.
He's got more spicy stuff.
Are
we at the end of the clip?
Yeah,
there's another one. You played it earlier. So, because there's one where he goes into I think it's the same interview where the guy asks him like, oh God, what are they talking about? Where, okay, you're saying that things are so bad in Portland and Chicago that we need to send in the National Guard. Why aren't you sending the National Guard into Texas, where they're also having problems? This might be it. So rather than give the punchline, let's see if this is it.
As we speak, trying to overthrow the core.
There isn't actually a threat that these demonstrators are going to overthrow the government. Are you concerned that response weakens your legal argument?
No, they are actually, as we speak, trying to overthrow the core law enforcement function of the federal government. Boris, this is, I think, where we're talking past each other. When ICE officers have to street battle against Antifa, hand-to-hand combat every night to come and go from their building, when they try to exit in a vehicle, when they are swarmed and surrounded and they try to tip the vehicle over, when people bring weapons to an ICE facility to try to engage in direct violent assault against ICE officers, what is the purpose? It is to prevent Immigration and Customs Enforcement from carrying out the mission the American people elected them to do. Their objective is to make it impossible for ICE to carry out ICE enforcement. When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism, using the actual and imminent threat of violence to keep federal officials from doing their jobs. And unless we send in troops and resources, then we will continue to bleed federal law enforcement resources in these street battles. It's absurd, it's unconstitutional, and must be put down.
You cited Title 10 a moment ago, and under that statute, you need either a foreign invasion, a domestic rebellion, or a disturbance that inhibits the ability for law enforcement to carry out federal law. But ICE is still conducting operations.
Like so I think these guys are like way reaching to call this stuff an insurrection. It feels like a classic case of they threw that at us, and so we're going to throw it back at them, and feels uber childish. But I really don't understand why. Like I think it was in Portland. The argument was like, bro, it's just a city block. Wait, what? Like you've knowingly let protesters take over a city block? That are like blowing things up, lighting fireworks, harassing the ICE officers. Like, it's what? Like, if you would just go in and break that up. And that was the part that I was hoping that we could find.
Somebody said we cut right at the best part. So, hey.
Is he about to get even spicier here?
We keep it
All right,
going.
hold on. Let's play.
It hasn't been overrun. It seems like local officials are fairly in control of the operation if ICE is still able to execute its mission, is it not?
Do you have any idea how much of ICE's workforce and resources have had to be reprioritized? How much of the Joint Terrorism Task Force's resources have had to be reprioritized to fight these domestic terrorists? Do you have any idea how many resources are spent
you keep
trying
calling
to
them
hunt down and
terrorists,
track
but isn't that hyperbolic to call them terrorists?
What is? If anything, I'm understating the severity of the situation. What issue was more central in 2024 than turning back the border invasion? And since the day we came in, ICE officers have been subjected to a nonstop campaign of physical violence and harassment every single day. And outside the Portland field office in particular, every night, they come, they assemble, they fight, they try to impede movement, they physically attack. For what purpose? Because we had an election, Boris. We had one. What's the purpose? To use actual physical violence to change the result of the election. You say you cannot turn back the border invasion.
So they're not doing it to change the results of the election. They're doing it because they want to resist your policy. So that certainly goes too far. But I really cannot wrap my head around the fact that people are they're just okay with like, yeah, we're gonna have people like going that ham. Like peaceful protesting all day, every day, love it the most. But once you start being riotous, then the government should 100% come in, break that up, tell people to go home. You can come back when you can like protest peacefully, period. End of story. Like people act like protesting means that there are no limits to the thing that you can do as long as it's a protest. That's not how this works. It's like there are certain ways that you can and can't do this.
Yeah, I think he's at the last point. Let's let it go a little bit more.
Do you have any idea how many resources we have had to redesignate to deal with these street terrorists?
You explain that. Let me ask the question. Let me ask the question. You make the case that these are terrorists, but in what we've seen thus far, the actual incidents of people inciting violence and not responding to law enforcement attempting to disperse them are not an open rebellion. I mean, again, you make this characterization as though they're terrorists, and I do wonder if it is potentially a problem in the future for Republicans. If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear of yours?
They're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaging in vehicle ramming
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas.
Because it's a
the National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've
we
arrested
need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard and
since
federal
June.
Well,
so it's wild. He goes on to say that they have a 911 call where it's on record, them getting the stand down order. It's wild.
I know a PTA meeting hates to see Stephen Miller coming. Like,
A PTA meeting?
Yes, what? A parent-teacher conference.
Oh, I know what PTA is.
I just feel like Stephen will be the worst. Like, he has to be the worst at dinner. Where it's like, well, I just ordered the salad, and I feel like this is an intrusion, and you guys, he's definitely one of those, let's go to a birthday party, and everybody split the check. And he's like, well, guys, I don't really drink that much, so I'm going to get my bill set. I get those vibes from him. Did y'all get what I'm saying? It's just something, he's the ick. Yeah,
that's amazing.
His whole point. All right.
He's way too over the top for me, but here's the thing that I'm not sure that I understand the sort of generalized take on this.
Like the pushback.
No. You cannot have people come into your country illegally. Mm-hmm. And to me, if we're going to focus on a conspiracy, let's focus on the fact that for 4 years we had an open border. That is insane. So what I want answers as to why people think. So you look up at the night sky, you see the star, open border. What story are people telling themselves about that? Are they, this is just compassion and America's an amazing place and we want to make sure that we welcome everybody in. Mm-hmm. If that's you, you're a moron. So now I'm like, you're not attached to the real world. You don't understand how many ways that is going to go wrong. So even if that's the answer, that's stupid. If it's we want to import cheap labor, it's and then at the same time, you're going to notice that wages have stagnated. Okay, so you're offshoring jobs as fast as you can. You're onshoring cheap workers as fast as you can. What? That's also a problem. So it's this is one where everybody who cares about young people, the kids, the next generation, however you want to think about it, if you care about wealth inequality, you've got to look at this and go, okay, this was so catastrophic. We've got to address this. And people seem to get lost in all the minutia, all the details, instead of going, okay, this is a problem. So the fact that people are protesting this at this level, that this is the thing that we've got to talk about, people having a sniper rifle trained on the building, that they're trying to dox ICE officers. What is happening right now? I can't figure out what they're actually fighting for. Mm-hmm. So that's the part where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This does not make sense. It is a massive problem. It's part of the underlying economic issue that's making life in America so difficult. And so the very people who part of the reason that they're so angry is because of the economic woes cannot step over to the side and look back at it and go, oh, I get how one of the biggest problems that we've created is we have robbed the average worker's ability to negotiate well. And ironically,
but is that the immigrants' fault though? I feel like
that's part of it. You have a 1-2 punch. Yeah. If you want to know why workers lost the ability to negotiate wages, it is very simple. You outsource jobs and you imported people that will do the jobs that we have here for cheap. Because listen, if the cost to mow your lawn is twice what we're paying now, then it's twice what we're paying now. There is a point at which people say, oh, I actually want that thing done, and so I'm willing to pay for it. But instead, what we did, and I remember, I'm old enough to remember when nobody had house cleaners except wealthy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And now, man, I see people making $200,000 that have a housekeeper. It's like, what? $200,000 in 2025 and you have a housekeeper? What are we talking about here? And that is because we have said, hey, we want to bring in a bunch of immigrants that will work for really cheap. Rather than going, let's just say that we're willing to bring in whatever, 500,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, pick your number. If you're going to bring in immigrants, then what should we care about? If you want to freeload, what should we care about?
Okay.
No. We're not escaping that. If you want to freeload, there is a real answer. I even gave it at the beginning of the podcast. If you just want to freeload, you will import entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs generate tax revenue. Yeah. But we're not. We're importing cheap labor. And so by importing cheap labor, we've created this mythology that, well, Americans aren't going to do those jobs anyway. That's bullshit. If you pay them enough, Americans will do jobs that are outright fucking dangerous, let alone boring or quote unquote demeaning. It is merely a gap in what people are willing to pay.
Yeah.
So either we don't care about that thing, having someone come in and clean your house, mow your lawn, whatever, which, hey, back in the fucking 80s, that's what kids were for. So I have mowed more lawns than I care to talk about. I have done more house chores than I care to talk about. So it's like, listen, you can't just keep importing cheap labor. You can't keep outsourcing high-end manufacturing and expect workers here to have the ability to negotiate, because I can always find somebody that'll do this.
I agree with that. And those sentences said together make sense. However, in the context of immigration and why people are upset, I feel like those are different people controlling that, because the H-1B1 visas aren't the same demographic, in my opinion, of the people that are fighting for immigration or more lenient borders.
Unfortunately, it's a very similar setup. So an H-1B visa should work in the following way. You find the talent that you can't find here. You pay whatever you need to pay, because that person is worth their weight in gold. That's why you went all the way to fucking New Delhi to find them. And you import them here, and you're like, oh, thank God. I literally couldn't find this person here because America's not training people to do that. America doesn't have work.
That's a
bear
false
with me,
narrative.
bear with me.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is what it should be.
Oh, copy.
It isn't this.
Okay.
So it should be this. Instead, what it is, oh, I'm going to go get just an average engineer for 20% less, and I'm going to bring him in. So again, you're making it impossible for American workers to negotiate, because you're like, oh, you won't do it for that amount? Say less, fam. Got you. I'm going to go get somebody that's cheaper. Now, I have brought people in on an H-1B visa, and legitimately it's because I cannot find the person here in the U.S. It doesn't mean they don't exist, but I can't find them for whatever reason. They don't want to work in my company, whatever. I've in no way, shape, or form thought, ooh, this is how I'm going to get a cheaper worker. So it can work well. There's no reason for that not to be a thing. We should want America to be the place that the best and the brightest the whole world over come to. And if people would understand that the problem is the government is stealing all of that innovation-led deflation. So we want to collect the smartest people from around the world. And that is good for us because they're going to drive costs down. But instead, what ends up happening is none of that gets passed on to you. We just pay in the most inefficient way possible for everything under the fucking sun. And now all of a sudden, inflation just keeps going up. And your life is not better. Your life is measurably worse. But it's measurably worse because of policies. It isn't measurably worse because we're attracting the best and the brightest. We're not. We're importing the cheapest labor we can find.
Copy. I kind of want to start at the beginning of this because I feel like I'm starting the argument on third base. And I feel like we should kind of
start at the beginning.
Yeah, we should
Lay
kind
the
of ramp it up a little bit, because in context of the Stephen Miller clip right now, we have open borders. This is terrible. It's terrorism on the local levels. I understand there's your affinity to hate protests and riots, and we need to
say what?
You've been
I love protests.
on the peaceful protest. It has to look a very certain way. When it goes outside those lines, you think law and order should step in. Correct. Is that a more accurate representation?
I like law and order. Tom likes law and order.
Tom likes law and order. Cool. Yep. So I get how things should look like, and them not looking like that. I understand that.
Yep.
Now let's go to the next layer. On one side, you have ICE, who for the first time I can remember, and I follow politics since Obama the first time, I've never seen masked law enforcement officials are able to patrol communities. They're not red rights. They're thrown in the back of vehicles and disappeared. So to me, that's state sanctioned kidnapping.
Right after 9/11, we were straight kidnapping people. Your ass. Now that's not defending it.
No, but that was under the gauge of terrorism. It's a terrorism. Once you're a terrorist, your rights are gone.
Bro, I'm telling you, he is literally saying we view these guys as terrorists.
Illegal immigrants are now terrorists.
No, he's not saying that. He's not conflating those two issues. He's saying people attacking ICE are terrorists.
And what I'm saying is, it's not the people attacking that are getting thrown in the paddy wagon by the masked people. It's the abuela that works at the dry cleaner that just happened to be outside when the ICE trucks went around the corner.
I would say the abuela is also getting thrown in the paddy wagon. But I think these guys really want Antifa. They would go after the protesters first. They're not going to knock the protester back so that they can get abuela into the van. They're going to let go of abuela and just beat the life out of that guy, which these are not good things. But this is, I think, would be they would much rather fight against that person who they perceive as a Democrat lunatic and just beat them
But I think what ends up happening now, though, is when we have Stephen Miller, the most caringest person in the Trump cabinet, when he comes on and starts pushing deportations as if the left is scared of deportations when we deported more people with Obama. Obama was able to deport people without masks, without paddy wagons, without all these things. So I don't necessarily think it's a function of these people don't want people in their country or we're arguing on it's how we're doing it.
Here's the thing. We were not in a populist moment when Obama got elected. When Obama got elected, I stood next to, I don't know why it's always an important part of the story for me, but I stood next to Jared Leto at an airport. Not that he has any idea that I even exist, but we were standing next to each other and we were looking up at the TV screen. We're like, holy shit, Obama got elected. Like it felt some kind of way. Like it really did feel like hope and change. It was awesome. And so he comes in with that vibe. Of course, if he's like, listen, we just got to do this in his suave ass way. And yeah, we weren't in the economic dire straits that we're in now. We had a president that felt presidential. It felt like hope and change. And he's telling us we got to deport. He's telling us we got a fucking drone strike. People were like here for it. So it's a very different time that we live in now. And if you think of the official that comes to power as representing what's going on in the subconscious of the like popular zeitgeist, things will start to get a lot clearer. So Trump is the thing that has sprung forth from the imagination of the populace now. We want a strong man who's going to slap the opposition around. That's what we want. That's what people want in a populist moment. Like as far back as you go in history, you're going to find this over and over and over. So of course you're going to get your Stephen Millers. Of course you're going to get people who are like, yeah, mask up. But you're also on the other side, you're getting people that are like, dox the fuck out of them. You're
going to get that counterbalance, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dude, we are racing away from each other. This is why I am desperate with my deep dives, especially. Like I'm just trying to get people to understand. You must find your way to the middle. I get that you don't want to be in the middle. I get it. It's compromise at a time where you don't want to compromise. I fully understand. And yet, I'm not confused. I'm saying you still have to find your way back to the middle. You have to find a way to work with these people that you perceive as lunatics because they need to find a way to work with you and they perceive you to be a lunatic. And so it's like, hey, we're in a family. Divorce is a lot worse than reconciliation. We've got to find a way to reconcile. So in a populist moment, yes, you're going to have the people that are up there with the sniper rifles aimed at the ICE building. Yes, you were going to have ICE people wearing masks because they know they're getting doxxed. Yes, you're going to have people trying to dox their family. Yes, you're going to have people say things. I just saw a tweet yesterday where the guy finished it off by saying, don't die slow or anything. So it's like people are unhinged. Not everybody, obviously. There's far more lovely people than there are problematic people. But the problematic people now are dictating policy. That's what's driving the vibe. That's what's driving the national conversation. And so once you understand it is not fair to say, well, Obama acted one way and Trump acts another. They are both essentially figments of the imagination of the public. They are the person who said and did whatever they needed to say and do to get elected in that moment. They are the person that had the temperament in that moment to succeed. Now, you don't have to go far to find people that would be like, Obama's the one to blame for this. Like he spouted all the racial rhetoric. He made everything super divisive. Everything came down to race. And so that played into it. And I will just say once again, all that matters, fix the fucking economy. And if you fix the economy, all the other stuff will recede into the background once again. Humans notice difference. We're always going to have it. And people are going to try to box you based on a thing they can see.
So I guess it shouldn't be surprising then that when Obama suave presidential, he was met with an equal and opposite force of Mitch McConnell, gridlock, political maneuver, savvy, who wasn't loud or boisterous, but knew how to match that energy by blocking processes. Now we have Trump in power, boisterous, loud, tough man, and he's meeting the equal and opposite force of, okay, well, we're going to revolutionize. We're going to be tough on the other side of that.
Yes, we're going to slap the opponent in the mouth.
Yeah.
That's what people want. People don't want, hey, listen, I know these guys that have come here illegally. They've got families and loved ones, and they're just trying to do the best they can, and whatever number of gang members came is going to be minor compared to the people that are just here seeking opportunity. That's not what they want. They're emotional. They want to see, they're going to get thrown in the back of a paddy wagon. Oh, abuela, get her. Like, that's the emotion. This is why listen, obviously we covered the life out of the Tyler Robinson, the shooting of Charlie Kirk. But if that really ends up playing out, it was a guy on the left and he was whipped up in a frenzy over radical ideology, and he just cannot bear the thought of Charlie swaying more people, and so he had to be killed. It's like, yeah, you get, even if that doesn't end up being true, that really is the tenor of where we're at right now. So, which is, you can tell by the way that people celebrated his murder. So even if this was a false flag, and even if Israel really did it, the fact that people cheered for it tells you where the world, tells you where like a lot of people in America are. So,
and then if we now, that was the baseline of the conversation. Now, if we run it up the flagpole a little bit more, you were talking about how illegal immigrants have been putting a negative strain on the economy because they impede employees, workers, and negotiate wages. They cheapen labor, and they mess up the market. I'll put it that way.
Yep.
The labor market. However, some people have called for corporations and job providers to be held accountable for the hiring of illegal immigrants. Because to your point, the illegal immigrants that are entrepreneurs, they're not messing with nobody. They open up their taco stands. They get their LLCs. They call it a day. But the people that are impacting the nation as a whole are the H-1B ones, are the people on farms who are getting paid under the table, things like that. So are you okay with those corporations, those companies that hire illegals or people from different parts of the world in a non-effective way? Should they be held accountable?
Obviously.
Okay.
We have laws for a reason.
But I mean, I would say that they're kind of skirting those laws.
They're not skirting them. They're outright like going against them. They have violated the law. And so what's the punishment? Give them the punishment. Nice and simple.
Okay. Because I think going back to the China conversation where we were floating $1 trillion investment and how, we should take it because we need the money and China could help and invest it. To me, I look at that and I roll my eyes because that's the same $1 trillion that we made China when Apple went out there and told them how to manufacture in the first place. And I refuse the claim that America doesn't have the workers, America's not skilled enough, America's not talented enough. I understand we're not number one in education or things like we used to be in the past, but there are talented people in America who, instead of being poured into and invested in that corporations used to do, they found a different way to make number go up by outsourcing it international. And the same investment that they once gave to an American in Kansas, they gave to a Chinese person in wherever they build the iPhone, in Qualcomm or whatever the facility is called. So Foxconn, thank you. So I think that it's interesting that we're now looking at these businesses in these countries that come invest in America and help grow our manufacturing base. But the companies, the entrepreneurs that drive tax revenue, that drive innovation, that drive people American investment, they're kind of not held to any standard accountability, things like that. And I don't want to regulate them to death, but I think we should incentivize companies investing into the people more than we're trying to solicit it from foreign governments through a trade deal.
You're probably not going to get there in the way that you're describing, where it's like, okay, companies, it's your job to make employees good. That's never going to work. So your education system needs to make employees good. Your education system, we all need to agree that we've got to educate the life.
Well, then how did we make Mexico figure out the Ford assembly line? Because there wasn't no Ford company there. They built the factory. They say, hey, people who live in Mexico City, come all through to the Ford factory. Okay, here's your 3 weeks of training.
Well, let me give you the example in China because it's so well documented. So in China, what we did is China was very smart. And they said, okay, we're going to give you all kinds of incentives to come here, including a cheap labor force. And the reason that we're going to do it, we're not going to tell you that, but the reason that we're going to do it is I know you're going to bring your best engineers and you're going to teach us how to do all the things that you do in the United States. And then once we have that knowledge, we will disseminate it widely because we, the government, control everything. And if we tell you that you're going to go work in this industry, you're going to go work in that industry. And so they did exactly that. They learned all the manufacturing techniques from Americans, and they have per capita just as many smart people as we're going to have. And so you've got an even bigger pool to draw from. So the raw number of people that are extremely intellectually gifted are going to be even more. And so they just absolutely became the global powerhouse for high-end manufacturing. And so you can assume that that's the case that you run everywhere. So Mexico, anywhere, whatever. It's like, this is very advantageous to us because you're going to employ a lot of people, but we're also going to be able to learn from the things that you do. And a person will learn in one factory and move on. And this is what we were talking about earlier with Elon Musk starts his company in China. China gives him all kinds of benefits that they've never given anybody before. He was able to retain 100% ownership of Tesla. Normally, you have to have like a 49, 50, or 51% partner if you want to come into China. They didn't make him do any of that because they had their eye on a much bigger prize, which is we believe that this is the future of automotive. He's going to teach us how to do it, and then we're going to take those people out of his factories and build other factories. It's exactly what happened. And now, as I said earlier, Tesla is a very small part of their overall electric vehicle market when it used to be 100%. So that's the game plan of anywhere, is like, we want you to employ our people and we want you to teach us. But I think you want to let companies do that. They should have the opportunity to do that, but you want to create the incentives to keep people here. So this is like, I look at what happened in California with the entertainment industry. And people around the world looked at the entertainment industry in Hollywood and was like, oh, I know how to get you to shoot whatever that thing is you're going to shoot in my country or my state. I'm going to give you crazy tax incentives. And California, being the dumb ass state that it is, goes, but we have the greatest weather in the world, which they do. But like, they just think, oh, people will pay literally any amount, which they won't. And so they'll start leaving. And now the industry has so gone other places that now they built all this infrastructure in other places. And just like it took Georgia 30, 40 years to try to get people to come, to move their families, to build infrastructure and all that, now California is back needing to do that. They've got to make the 30 years of investment to get people to come back to LA. It's not going to be the snap of a finger. So it's just, that's what America has to do. America has to start playing defensively. So we've got to do something like the tariffs to make ourselves more competitive on the international stage, to get people to bring manufacturing back here to the US. And then we need to make incentives that are carrot and not just stick for the companies to actually stay here.
But let's like play out that analogy, because I think entertainment moved from LA, then it moved to Atlanta, then there was some New Mexico, Nashville, Louisville, Jersey, and then now it's in London, moving to Ireland.
Yep.
So it seems that even at the end of it, it got cheaper to then again leave America. And I think my issue that I've had since Clinton administration is that we keep thinking that we could just leave America, abandon these cities. Oh, we'll found a new entertainment industry. Oh, we'll do something else with these flyover states. Oh, we'll do something else with this coal town. Oh, we'll do something else with this old manufacturing mill. And then nothing happens. Those cities get decrepit. They turn into crap. And then we're surprised there's crime. We're surprised that there's homelessness. We're surprised that there's poverty. So I think that I don't want to be China and start stealing passports when companies try to outsource. But I do think we need a strong policy to say, like, hey, we can't do any more external outsourcing investments. Like, we need to start building here. Like,
but how do you do it? You have carrot and stick. And so you've got to figure out, what are the blockers? So Trump is running a tariff strategy. What are the incentives? And that ultimately is all you have. Like, you can give tax breaks to people so they can keep more of their money. That's going to be the normal one. And then you put that together with, oh, and by the way, you're also not penalized to sell into the U.S. market. And people are like, oh, I'm going to make more money and I'm going to keep more money. Yeah, cool. Now I'm going to be here. So when people fight against that, the only thing that makes sense is if you just don't think it's going to work. Fair enough. Like, you want people to push back on an idea, to sharpen it, to make sure that it's going to be effective. And the economy is extremely complicated. So it's possible that Trump is just misreading the situation. But I don't understand why people are arguing in theory. Like, give me your better take. Yeah, of course. Give me your better take. Like, what is it that you propose that we do? Because if we agree that we have, bear with us here for a second. If you agree that we have economic problems, then we've got to solve said economic problems. How are we going to solve them? But people just want to fight. They just want to argue. It's all partisan because it's all populism. It is all, I'm up in arms. I think the other side is evil. I think that it may be justified to kill the other side. That is where we are. And so even if you don't have a better solution, people just want to bang on and scream about, like, what he's doing is bad. It's like, Jesus, man, like, what do you want? Like, what is the outcome that you want? Tell me in a single sentence what outcome you want. And then let's work backwards to figure out how we get it. I want real wages to go up. I want people to believe that their kids will be more financially successful and more fulfilled than they were. There, I can say mine in a single sentence. Can other people do that? And if you can't, then we cannot figure out how to work to get towards that. Because I can lay mine out in a single sentence, now I can build a cause and effect map of how I think we get there. And it's like all the things that I'm saying, maybe I don't walk people slowly enough from like A to B to C to D, E, E, F, G. But it's like, that is every word out of my mouth is me going, I'm trying to get to that. I'm trying to get back to the abstracted American dream, because it doesn't have to be about a house. We all know my reasons why I think it probably is a house, but like, it doesn't have to be that. I just want the next generation to believe that their lives will be better than their parents, because that makes the parents invest like crazy in their kids. That gives the kids a ton of hope and optimism, and that pushes us well into the future. But when you don't do that, you get the madness that we're living through now.
Just read the instructions. Are you literally going against a century of economic theory that says tariffs are stupid and actually cause a depression? And is that how far gone you are? Why don't you sit there and explain why Xbox is now $900 and try to explain it is not because of terrorists or not because of tariffs?
Xbox definitely isn't because of tariffs, but that'll be fun to talk about. Actually, seeing how angry the gaming community, I think it might be important to say the millennial gaming community, but the millennial gaming community is very upset about that. But first, let me get to Smoot Hawley, which is what he's talking about. So tariffs are a risky situation. There's no doubt. And anybody that is very cautious about tariffs, they have my full support. I get it. I don't know if tariffs are going to play out well yet. The reason that I think that we have a chance for tariffs to actually be the right thing is that you're essentially creating a VAT tax. VAT taxes, we know a lot of places are using right now as ways to capture a lot more revenue. And when the problem that you're trying to solve for is that you don't have a manufacturing base, and not every, but a lot of jobs have gone overseas, you're in a very different position than you were when Smoot Hawley came into play. So when Smoot Hawley came into play, we were putting tariffs when we were manufacturing here in the US. And so now it's like, well, you're just going to get into a trade war and you're trying to export. Now, it's not that we're not exporting now. So I get why people are like, hey, hold on, we still export a lot. But it's 70% of our GDP is internal. It's not what we export. So if we're in a situation now where we are the largest consumer of goods, what we've done is we've put people outside, and not consuming goods that we made, but consumption. We buy things. That's our GDP. And so when you have people outside that are selling into us, you have leverage in a way that we didn't before. When your jobs are being exported, you're losing leverage because you don't control your own supply chains. So the unique problem that we have to solve right now is we have to bring manufacturing back, because we're in Thucydides' trap with China. They control a lot. They control our access to drugs. They control our access to all of the drones, war machinery that, God forbid, but could end up being necessary. So many critical supply chain stuff. So we no longer have advanced manufacturing very much here in the US. We have a problem with worker wages being stagnant for decades. And so you start tracking it, and it's like, oh, it doesn't actually track with the weakening of the unions. It tracks almost exactly with exporting manufacturing outside of the US. And so as we've lost literally millions of manufacturing jobs, suddenly wages start stagnating. So I'm saying it's a unique moment in time that we're in now that is very different than where we were when that sort of iron law became known. And again, my tone is very like, I'm not 100% sure this is going to work, but I get why this moment is different enough from where we were back then that it actually may play out well. So we need to bring manufacturing back. So again, state like what it is that you're trying to achieve and then work your way back. We must bring back key manufacturing jobs to the US for a whole host of reasons. There's a certain type of person that's just going to be the only thing that they want to do, that they are good at. And so they will exit out of the workforce, which is terrible. So you have working age men that exit out. The stats on that are very terrifying. So you want to bring them back for that reason, and you want to bring them back for control, and you want to bring them back for the ability to negotiate worker pay. So like just those three things alone are like, you have to do something to essentially force people to come back and manufacture here in the US. So anyway, that's why I think it has a shot.
I just love his response to just read the words, or their response. Hey kids, your country, of course that's when the chat happens. Hey kids, your country wants to impose tariffs to bring back manufacturing so they can fill them with robots to do the work humans used to do, and then you'll sit down and realize why you live in a hut.
Okay, so
love that feature.
Yeah.
Love that for us.
All right. They're unfortunately not super wrong about the fact that robots are going to do a lot of the jobs, and we are going to have to contend with that. That is not a future that I want to hand wave away. But it's like we need to slow down and take each one of these things one by one so we can actually see how to act, instead of every time you say, okay, we're going to do this to address that problem, and then you just move on to the next problem. It's like, first, let's agree or disagree that that's a meaningful way to bring manufacturing back. We can figure out later if AI and robotics on a long enough timeline is also going to be a problem. But first, just would that bring manufacturing back? Okay, I think the answer is pretty obviously yes. It's not going to bring all of it back, but it's going to bring some of it back. It's also going to drive a lot of tax revenue. Now, that tax revenue is coming largely from Americans. So I'm not delusional. I understand that while this microphone setup makes me want to hurt somebody, that I understand that there's going to be the burden will be partially shared, but it's not going to be totally just
some
on
costs
people
will be
in
passed
China
on.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there is going to be costs that are passed on, certainly to the importer. There are going to be some costs that will inevitably be passed on to the end consumer. Okay, all of that is true. But again, for the three reasons that I stated, I think it is very important that we do something to bring that manufacturing back. And those rises in costs will be temporary, because once people spin up manufacturing here, then all the tariffs go away and you're able to make it cheaper. So yes, it's difficult, but you have to make these trade-offs because not doing them has put us with the $900 Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay, so then step number 2 is, what does the future AI look like? The future of AI is going to be a wildly mixed bag. It is essentially going to usher in the closest thing to an economic utopia that you're ever going to get, which will effectively be post-economics once two things happen. And literally, you only need these two things to happen. One, you need energy costs to drop to effectively zero, where energy costs are already declining rapidly due to solar. If people don't know, enough solar radiation falls on planet Earth every day to exceed our needs by some ungodly amount. And so you don't need anything other than the energy from the sun. You just have to be able to capture it efficiently. If AI is able to hit a certain level of intelligence, the odds that it will be able to solve that problem are effectively 100%. So I would say over the next 25 years, the odds of energy being ridiculously cheap that you can just effectively round them to zero border on 100%. Then the second thing that you need to happen is the cost of labor has to drop to effectively zero. And if you are able to build robotics, that the largest cost there will be energy. So if energy drops to effectively zero, you make that first generation of robots, which then need only energy for food, and then they'll go out and mine all the ore and build all the stuff. And now all of a sudden labor is effectively zero. So you have energy going to zero allows you to have labor that goes to zero. Now these are 25, 30-year time horizons, but that seems very doable. So now look, AI could asymptote, and it just never gets that smart, and so that future never comes to pass. But anyway, given that you're talking about these 25, 30-year horizons, even though there's going to be wild disruption in the next couple of years, like 2 to 3 years is still going to be wild disruption, I still think it makes sense to bring manufacturing back now. First of all, even those 2 to 3 years are uncertain to a certain degree. And then the job disruption will have, meaning it will trade one job for another. But in the short term, I think AI is going to create jobs. It's going to migrate jobs, to be sure, but I think it's going to create more than it destroys. Then on a long timeline, we end up getting post-economic, which utopia is a terrible word, but you end up getting something where it's like you can have anything that you want for free. Okay, Now, the $900 Xbox story. So watching this unfold is really interesting, but I feel like the anger in the gaming community is very valid, completely justified. I don't know that they've mapped all of the reasons why they're as angry as they are, because indie games still exist and indie games are awesome. So you have a lot of games that are coming on that are fantastic. It's just nostalgia is so powerful. And so if you're used to, like, I want to have physical media in my possession, because I went through this with films, where my most prized possession was my DVD collection, then my Blu-ray collection. It was like that. And people don't know my background. It's like, since I was 12, I just wanted to be a filmmaker. And so that really, really, really like was a piece of my soul. As soon as I started making any money whatsoever, I had like an area, I converted a part of my garage just into storing my collection. I was just super into it. And that went away. And there was emotional disruption. I was very traumatized, but I didn't know who to be mad at. So it was like, okay, well, this is just the world changes. So I think there's a big part of that. People are used to having a console. They're used to having physical media. And sort of that's just gone away. But if there is a big enough appetite for it, physical media will come back. So as a game developer, trust me, I'm like taking notes when I hear people say like, no, I don't want the game to ever go away. I want it to be mine. So I'm like, okay, I'll build to that to see like, okay, we'll offer some sort of physical version. We'll see if people actually buy it. I have a feeling they won't, because the costs go up because so few people do it that you can't mass produce it in the way you used to be able to do. Anyway, it becomes super niche. So it's like vinyl. It just is what it is. Like trends like this move on. Cost is tied to efficiency. Efficiency is tied to what the masses buy. So digital downloads far more efficient. Okay, Xbox, the reason that the costs are going up is, first of all, just GPUs in general are getting more and more expensive because they're being used for AI. Second, human labor is exceedingly expensive because inflation is going crazy. So you have to pay people, obviously, more money. Unfortunately, not real wages, but just raw dollars go up. And so games are becoming ridiculously expensive. There's so much noise that you also have to cut through that. So now you're looking at film-like budgets where, let's say you spend $250 million to make the game, then you just have to spend $250 million to market the game. And so budgets are just getting out of control. Now, if you're Xbox, and this is me, I'm guessing here, but Xbox is probably doing something like this. Wall Street loves subscription models. We're going to migrate our player base away from physical hardware, which actually, I'm not going to win anybody over here. Physical hardware is worse for players.
Why is it worse for players?
Because it can't be upgraded at a moment's notice. So new servers are coming online all the time as equipment gets better and better and better. And so if you're paying a service where all your games are coming online from online, you don't care what server it's on. You just want the new, the best, the latest, the greatest. And so if I'm a developer, I'm thinking, oh, this is a great position to be in. I can know that my game, like whatever I develop it for now, I'm not locked into a generation of hardware. The hardware is just going to keep getting better and better and better and better and better. And so the games will be able to move in much smaller increments rather than having to like wait on a 5-6 year cycle where you make a whole new piece of hardware and then you resell it. And so for players, it's like, I never have to invest in the hardware again. Now, again, nostalgia, I get why they're mad. Wanting to own the physical thing, I get why they're mad. But a kid that grows up playing on their phone just won't have those vibes. And so if you're Xbox, Microsoft, you're like, yeah, I'm going to have a transition period. I'm pissing off millennial gamers. Totally understand that. But over time, we just see all the games are on phones. Like all the big wins. As a developer, I'm sad because I'm a PC developer. So I'm sad that I'm like, oh shit, like phone games are the future. I went through the same thing with comic books. And it's like, comic books are just read on the phone. They're just read on the phone. That is heartbreaking to me as somebody who has collected more physical comics than I even want to talk about. So I get the emotional trauma of all of these things, but they change over time. So that's an inevitability. Now, Xbox is going to get punished. Millennial gamers are going to punish Xbox. And so it's just a question of, does Xbox care enough about the transitional generation? Because they will lose billions of dollars. Millennial gamers are moving away from Xbox right now. I can't 100% prove this is true, but it really might be. People were so mad at the changes to the Xbox Game Pass that people canceling their subscription came in so fast and unexpected that it crashed their servers.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that's really true, Xbox may have miscalculated. They may have tried to make the transition too fast. Maybe they needed to do one more generation of hardware. Don't know. That'll play out in the fullness of time. But listen, I get it. As a temperament, I'm just like, I don't fight against the way that cultures move. Everything changes. I mourn. As you get older, you're going to find that you go through these mourning periods a little too frequently. I mourn whenever something moves, but I then try to move with it and just say, okay, where is this? Now, it creates opportunities. And if physical media is something gamers really care about, then an entrepreneur like myself will take advantage of that and make physical things. I just have a bad feeling. It's just niche. Just not enough people care about it.
But this kind of sounds like the you'll own nothing and be happy about it model, where we're saying physical media is worse for you. Because at least with physical media, it was my game. Every time I popped it in, it worked.
Now, what I said was hardware is worse for you.
Oh, hardware is worse,
not physical games. Physical games is an emotional thing. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
But you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
This is exactly you own nothing and be happy. In certain areas, people need to resist that with every ounce of their being because assets. If you don't own assets, you are a serf. Okay? So when you hear Klaus Schwab say that, it's evil. It's evil. It is evil. He knows that not owning assets makes you a serf. And he wants to acclimate you to that. You not having physical DVDs, Blu-ray, video games, it's not going to matter. That you're never going to make money selling your comic book collection. I mean, the number of people that do that is infinitesimally small. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just that's not making anybody's radar. Watches, sure. Cars, sure. Comic books, not so much. So video games, not so much. So it just is that games, like cameras, the best camera is a camera you always have on you. That ended up being your phone. And so even though for somebody like me that likes playing with depth of field and lenses and stuff, it was like 12 years of just like, you can't get rad shit because you just don't have lenses. So, but it was what it was. The camera phone won. Games are already the same. It just, more people play on phones than play on consoles or PC. It's sad. Like I spend 0.01% of all my gaming time on my phone, and the rest I'm on a PC or a PlayStation. So like I am that person, and I'm just saying fighting against the trends isn't smart for the business, and it certainly is. The individual person should do whatever they want, but the culture is going to leave them behind.
This is my beef with digital games, because I think when the transition to digital games happened, I thought that it was a cost-effective model, that this is saving costs because you don't need physical CDs.
Yep.
Yet the price of the game did not change. And I think that it's one of those things that as we extrapolate AI, robotics...
First of all, that's not true. So this is where I'm like, okay, I understand people want Call of Duty to get cheaper. But the reason that we're having an indie game like renaissance right now is because those guys don't have to make physical media. They have Steam. And Steam gives them an algorithm where they can reach players. Steam is like the Amazon of products. And so if you're going to go onto TikTok Shop, don't even bother until you're on Amazon, because you're going to do roughly 1 to 4. For every 1 you sell on TikTok Shop, you're going to do 4 on Amazon, because people just trust it. If it's on Amazon, it's real. I've got Amazon Prime. I know the Amazon stuff's going to get delivered. I know I'm not going to have to put in a new username and password. I'm just going to do my thing. So indie games get to leverage Steam in that way. So for them, they can make games they otherwise wouldn't be able to make. I don't like, if I had to face like all of the like massive hurdle of printing physical games and shipping them and all that, it would be far more daunting for me as an indie developer. So it's, again, I understand why they're mad, and their anger is justified because the world moves on and your hobbies, the things you are wildly passionate about, they change. Like there was a guy being trolled online. This one hurt my heart a little bit. There's a guy being trolled online because he was like fantasizing about, imagine if you built inside of Minecraft and you could like pass that Minecraft world down to like your kids, and then your kids pass it to your grandkids, and then your grandkids will one day discover a part of the world that you had built up. Like, how cool would that be? And people were like, this is dystopia. I can't believe it. And I was like, no, I get what that guy's saying. Like you get so into this virtual world that you really feel emotionally invested in it. And so you've got gamers that feel that way about the story for insert their favorite game. And so it feels like, oh my God, you've made this transient, or you can kill this off and I don't have access to this anymore. Like if somebody told me you can never see The Matrix again, I would be well traumatized. So I totally get where they're coming from, but it just, things move on.
Yeah.
And so there either will be a business opportunity or there won't. And if there is a business opportunity, then people take advantage of it. Indie games are taking advantage of the fact that there's no physical media that you have to hold. And so just make the game. If you can make the game and get people aware of it. So it's like, I do want to get people excited about, okay, you have traded off. AAA games feel abusive. I get it. But you get, I mean, dude, how many games come out a year? Thousands. And a lot of them are rad.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And they are $20, so I'll give you that. Yeah, computer. It's blocking my face. Okay, I need a super chat. Also, thank you everybody that's worried about my balls and my reproductive future. I really appreciate you guys.
Everyone was like, you all, everyone.
I was like, Drew, you good?
Esoteric Dichotomy Silk Song has won so many hearts. Yeah, you're exactly correct. There are so many just killer indie games. Yeah, it's rad. And then listen, even I don't have to worry about it, but I didn't grow up with money. So for me, there's like a Steam sale that happens every autumn. I just bought 3 games for the price of 1 game, and they were like big games. So anyway, it is I don't think this is going to be popular, and I think I'm going to get trolled for this, which is why I think I probably have to give up on millennial gamers in terms of the way that I market. But I really want to see millennial gamers fall back in love with gaming. I want to see them get excited, but the algorithm just doesn't reward that right now. It's not the feel. I get it. Totally get why people are angry. But man, games are still unbelievable. And by the way, I really think virtual worlds are the future. Yeah. So in ways that this one I will go to bat for. Probably not now. I'll hit a period there.
Yes, because we got a super chat. Jedward, I apologize.
Super chat.
We got into a fractal, so that's on me. So thank you for your $20 super chat. Insurrection feels like leading and pacing with Trump and co. Harnessing the faux rage from January 6th to bring Antifa as an insurrection. Like the scene from the Red October where the torpedo is turned against the shooter. Payback.
Yes, I think there is a lot of truth in that. I do also think, though, the right way to think about Antifa is they are the brown shirts of today. Now, whether they're officially embraced by the Democrats or not, I'll let time play that out. And embrace is the right word. I'm not saying they're funding them or fueling them or anything. But I'll be very interested to see, I want to see Democrats go, yeah, we don't want to see anybody be violent. And I know people on the left think the right is more violent. I know people on the right think the left is more violent. But there's just way too much violence everywhere. And I would love to see people say, yeah, we're hard pass to all of that. I want to see law and order. I want to see all of that stopped immediately. So, yeah, the Antifa is bad news. Bad news bears.
And then let's jump into a reaction. The job market has recorded one of the biggest losses in years. It's interesting, too, because I know you're kind of at the front line of this with Zero the Founder. You're seeing a lot of new entrepreneurs and people being forced into entrepreneurship now. And with these job numbers for the last couple of months, it seems like that is going to be a growing pattern as we keep losing jobs.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that I think we've been in a stealth recession for a year or more. So
we are witnessing the biggest job loss in years, which is going to force the Federal Reserve to continue cutting interest rates. The official jobs report by the government was supposed to be released on Friday, October 3rd. However, because the politicians could not agree on a government funding bill on time, the federal government has shut down. And consequently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics did not release the reports. Therefore, people have been relying on the ADP jobs reports, which at least gives us insights into the labor market situation in the private sector. And for the month of September, the ADP report shows that the private sector lost 32,000 jobs. This was the biggest decline in 2.5 years. Another report that we'd like to look at, regardless of whether the BLS jobs report is released or not, is the Challenger report. This is on page 1 of the report, and in the chart, I've highlighted the months of 2025. It says, so far this year, companies have announced 946,426 job cuts, the highest year-to-date since 2020. That is 55% higher compared to the same time period in 2024. And on page 2 of the report, it says, it's very likely job cut plans are going to surpass 1 million for the first time since 2020. Oof. Again, we're currently at 946,000, so I would say that surpassing that amount is very likely. And it says that previous periods with this many job cuts occurred either during recessions or during periods of transformative technology. So for here, I mean, of course, there are...
So I think what he said at the end is really the banger, is that it's either been in times of recessions or transformative technology. So I know a lot of these job cuts are coming from AI being onloaded to a lot of these software and tech companies. Some of them is just the COVID money is running out and the overinflated economy is coming back to life. In general, how are you feeling about the jobs report, the jobs situation in America?
It'll be good to get the Bureau of Labor statistics and get the quote-unquote official numbers, but yeah, none of this is surprising. This is terrible news. We are in a position right now where you basically have 7 companies that represent most of the gains of the S&P 500. So you can look at the stock market and think everything is roaring, but the reality is that that's not really what's going on. That inflation is hitting everybody hard, that people have felt pinched for years now. And when people start feeling pinched, they start slowing down their expenses. When only 10% of the world own 10% of Americans own 93% of the assets in America, you just don't have enough people spending money. Mm-hmm. The individual debt in America is insane, trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So it's just, people are so hamstrung right now that, you're going to see more and more and more of this, especially as we realize that the jobs that were gained were in the government sector, and so they're not producing anything. And that just makes inflation worse, that when you're overspending on the government, that you're going to have to end up reducing some of these jobs. So, I mean, we'll see how bad this gets, but we are trending in a scary direction. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about that.
How would you equate the government? Okay, say the economy is a cake, right? Do you think that the jobs report is like the flour, the eggs, or is it more so the icing and there's other factors that are driving these jobs reports? Because I know a lot of times we look at the jobs report, we say this is bad, economy bad, check. But should there be other things in this cake recipe that we should look at that might impact
where
that?
The jobs go matter a lot. So you start getting into flour and eggs territory. Yeah. If this is in jobs being created in the private sector, that is an incredibly good leading indicator. It isn't the thing itself, but GDP technically isn't the thing itself either. It's really, you're looking at a confluence of factors. Are real wages going up? Huge. Is inflation steady at a minimum at a very low level? That would be ideal. I think we all know I want to see it come down. Where are interest rates? What's the average price of a home? You start looking at that basket of goods and you get a pretty clear picture. And right now, just take them one at a time, jobs are in free fall. Mm-hmm. You're realizing that most of the jobs we thought we had gained, we hadn't actually gained because they were just in the private sector, and we've been revising numbers down like crazy. The economy is not growing, certainly not at the rate that we expected it to or traditionally have been able to look at. The real wages aren't going up. So housing is complete. It is, I want to make sure that we stay focused on the simple, though they will be difficult to get people on board, but the simple steps that we need to walk people down in order to get them to do the right thing. As a commentator, that's one of the things I want to make sure that I'm just constantly adding back into the conversation. So we need to make housing affordable, so we're going to have to deregulate there. We've got to, right now, Trump has a growth-only plan. The only thing that Trump is focused on is grow, grow, grow. Mm-hmm. So we've got to make sure that we get the deregulations in place that are actually going to allow us to grow. seeing how people are wiling out over the cuts to the Affordable Care Act. If we're going to literally add that money back in, which, oh my God, then we've got to start cutting somewhere, or you've got to race to unlocking money. So yeah, that growth, I mean. So that's going to be really critical. And getting people into assets, getting people to start making a move today to start investing. I'm going to be talking more about private equity coming up because, man, I look at 7 companies driving all of the economic gains in the stock market, and I start getting a little leery about pushing people too hard into that. So I need to do a deep dive myself, not that I'll actually do a deep dive content on this because the world won't go for it, but I need to really start educating myself about how the average person can access that. But if we don't get people into assets, we're in trouble. If we don't get to really get power back into the hand of the average worker in terms of negotiating power so we can get real wages up, we're going to be in trouble. We've got to onshore some manufacturing. People know my loop. So that's going to be critical. All right.
Yeah.
We are at time. I will say, do we have a super chat or something?
Nah, I do.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm headed. All right, so hey, speaking of generating more tax revenue for everybody, we have a leadership mistakes costing you millions workshop coming up for our Zero to Founder community. So if you're already doing $1 million in revenue, make sure that you come check that out. It's Tuesday, October 14th at 1 p.m. This one has been very popular. One of the biggest complaints that I see from entrepreneurs is just leadership. How do I hire right? How do I task my employees right? How do I deal with KPIs, things like that? I've got a banger workshop on that. If I do say so myself, I've had more than 3,000 employees in my life. So I am well aware of leadership principles, how to get people pointed in the right direction. So I hope you guys will join me for that Tuesday, October 14th at 1 p.m. It is designed, the program, which is known as $1 Billion CEO, is designed for people doing at least $1 million already. If you're not doing that, we offer another program called Zero to Founder. So be sure to look out for that. But we are doing that program coming up. It is a free workshop. So join me 1 p.m. Pacific time, Tuesday, October 14th. It is really, we've had a lot of good things come out of that. So it is free. Make sure you join. Click the link in the description right now. Register for the workshop now. And I will see you guys October 14th. And we will also see you guys all. We're going to be coming live, I think, from this very same space again on Friday. So we will be here, same bat time, same bat channel. All right, everybody. Until then, be legendary. Take care. Peace.
Peace.